Chapter 791. Setting up a sect wasn't something that could be done overnight. It was now the era of civilized cultivation, and there were rules and regulations for everything. It wasn't like the ancient era, when all you had to do was find a suitable land of mountains and rivers, invest in building a sect, and recruit people. Back then, you didn't even need to buy land. If several people who wanted to set up a sect had their eyes on the same land of mountains and rivers, whoever won would own it. Therefore, there were a lot of factors that needed to be considered in order to set up a sect in today's society. As early as several hundred years ago, around the time the Cultivation Forum had just been set up, grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had already conceived the idea of setting up a sect. However, at that time, he hadn't had enough resources. He had lacked supplies, money, management, strength and connections. He hadn't had anything. But things were different now. The development of the Cultivation Forum was even better than what grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had imagined when he had first set up the site. He had relied on the forum to expand all kinds of interpersonal relationships and connections. Furthermore, he had used the forum to post all kinds of news about the cultivation world to explore and uphold justice everywhere, thoroughly spreading the name, Great Death-Courting Senior, in the cultivation circle. For many people, the soul formation stage was an unattainable realm that they could only dream of. Of course, this realm was far from enough for grenade-throwing Senior Immortal himself. At the very least, it was nothing compared to the big shots around him. Even in the chat group set up based on the Cultivation Forum, grenade-throwing Senior Immortal felt that as the group leader, his realm ranking in the group was only above average. Wang Ling naturally didn't need to be mentioned in the same breath as him. Even the newcomers to the group, Little Silver, Brother Feng Xing and Daoist Guang, were much better than him. The most frightening thing was that grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had the vague feeling that Dog 2's strength was about to surpass his. An ambitious person would always compare himself with those who were more outstanding than he was. After this comparison, he would naturally fall behind, and then work even harder and strive even harder to follow in the footsteps of these outstanding people to become even more outstanding. Grenade-throwing was this kind of person. Little Silver had never seen grenade-throwing with such a serious and meticulous face. Grenade-throwing was usually a very sunny and cheerful person. Little Silver clearly remembered that he had only seen this expression in one situation before. That was, while planting broccoli in the backyard. Realizing that grenade-throwing was seriously talking to him about the construction of the sect, Little Silver was blank for a long while before he asked, "So you've chosen a place?" "I already have a few pieces of land that I like in Songhai City, which is in the suburbs. I've heard from a friend that it's about to be divided into a new district called Xinling New District." Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said, "Historically, that area has been very barren, and demons have wreaked havoc there, so development hasn't been particularly good in the last few hundred years. A lot of real estate developers have encountered all kinds of mysterious and supernatural events there, such as regional earthquakes, building material trucks running into ghosts on the road, and even evil spirits howling in the middle of the night. Didn't a feng shui master take a look?" Little Silver asked curiously. In the past, feng shui masters would go there every day to measure the feng shui, but the result was that the divination showed that it was an ominous place. "That's why there are very, very few residents living there now," said grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. After hearing this, Little Silver was very surprised. "Then why did you decide on that land?" "Because more than 10 years ago, it was said that the feng shui there suddenly improved overnight. But I think this might have something to do with Brother Ling's family." "Master." "That's right." Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal nodded. "I heard that Brother Ling's family moved here more than 10 years ago." "Oh, that's right, I forgot to tell you, the pieces of land I chose are very close to East Huang Road in front of Brother Ling's house." Little Silver finally understood at this point. No wonder that place had suddenly changed from an ominous place to a land of good feng shui. It turned out that it was because Master was there to suppress it. Master was already a very strong person. And there were so many seniors in this villa. Big Master. Old Master. Old Master's wife. Great Master, a total of 5 masters. So what if there were a lot of demons and ghosts in that area? When the 5 masters were added together, that would be the ultimate bomb. Little Silver actually hadn't been very interested in this matter at first, but when he heard that the sect was going to be built near the Wang family's small villa, his interest was immediately piqued. If the sect was really built there, it would be so convenient for him to move around with Master in the future. Then, grenade throwing, do you have a general idea? Little Silver asked again. I've been working on the general idea since several hundred years ago, and I think I'll start with our chat group for the main management. Our sect must break away from the shackles of traditional sect doctrines and develop our own individual sect characteristics. Of course, this must be built on the basis that it doesn't violate our core values and the will of the country. We definitely can't do anything that breaks the law. When Little Silver saw that Grenade Throwing's eyes were shining as he said this, his expression was so serious that it moved Little Silver. Brother Silver, let me ask you a question. When your holy beast race was divided into tribes back then, was it like a small sect? A little. Little Silver nodded. But that couldn't be called a real sect. A sect needed to be run, and the tribes established by the holy beast race weren't so strict in their management. In ancient times, why did people set up sects? In order to find a group of like-minded fellow Taoists, they vigorously pushed out unique secret arts that only their sect had. These unique secret arts were the key to attracting a large number of disciples to join the sect. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal stood up and said tirelessly, in ancient times, sects were actually set up for those who had the strength to do so. In the absence of any overall rules and regulations, those who had the strength wanted to leave a mark on their name for generations to come, carry forward their techniques, and promote their reputation. And the disciples who joined the sect often sought peace in these troubled times when hundreds of schools contended for supremacy. Little Silver seemed to understand a little. Then, grenade throwing, you mean, times are different now. Brother Silver, do you think that if we were like before, and purely used those techniques to attract outsiders to recruit people, would anyone come? Nowadays, there are a lot of spirit skill shops online, and there are many ways to cooperate on copyrights of techniques. Just go online, and the techniques you want can be sent to you electronically. Why go through the trouble of joining a sect? That makes sense. Little Silver nodded in agreement with Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's point of view. But Little Silver's expression was still a little hesitant, because after talking for so long, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal still hadn't explained why they were setting up a sect. Then what are we setting up this sect for? It's not like we're going to build a broccoli farm. Brother Silver, you're really smart. Ah. Of course, this is just one of the plans in my sect's blueprint. The main show is actually yet to come. Chapter 792. Building a sect was something that sounded very exciting just from the sound of it. Little Silver had never been the head of a sect before, but he could more or less understand what it felt like. It was probably like being the head of a holy beast clan, similar to being the head of a big family. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had also said that people in modern cultivation society had a different need for sects compared to the ancient era. In the past, people had looked for sects just to be able to learn a technique in a chaotic world and have something to rely on. There were all kinds of struggles and competitions between the sections. After most of the sects collapsed in the competition, some of the disciples who were originally attached to the sects died in order to protect the glory of the sects, while others wandered outside and eventually turned to other sects. But under the modern system, while there was still competition between sects, they would never fight each other, as there were government departments to regulate them. Therefore, the relationship between the light faction sects was more of a business competition. Unlike before, disciples who joined sects now didn't just want to find something to rely on, but more for the purpose of making money and becoming famous. Little Silver had previously learned a little about the structure of modern human sections. To put it bluntly, modern sects already had a trend of acting as management companies, and the disciples who signed up with them were actually trainees who had just entered an acting company. Although sects still maintained the previous hierarchy of inner and outer sect as well as inner disciple, it was undeniable that this trend was becoming more and more obvious in the current sect circle. On the surface, sects didn't mention it, but most of them had a tacit understanding. A famous sect star disciple could bring a considerable amount of revenue to the sect in the future, which was a huge boost to the sect's popularity, network traffic, the number of new recruits each year and so on. They were far more reliable than a star with a pretty face. In the current cultivation society, although the phenomenon of looking at one's face still existed, people with good faces were becoming less and less rare. With spells and modern cultivation technology, even if one was born with a face like a hairy egg, one could still become a spotlessly white egg. What mattered more was ability. "Have you told Master about this?" Little Silver asked as he bit his finger. This was a habit of his. Every time he was thinking, he would bite his finger, and sometimes it would even bleed. However, due to the holy beast's extremely strong regenerative ability, the skin that was bitten would recover in an instant. I was just about to discuss the establishment of the sect with Brother Ling. I had even thought about making Brother Ling the honorary sect leader or vice sect leader, but given Brother Ling's character, he would definitely not accept it. Master has always been very low-key. Little Silver lowered his head and pondered for a moment before he suggested, "I'm sure you won't be the sect leader, but maybe you can agree to be a guest official?" Brother Silver's idea isn't bad. I'll talk to Brother Ling later, and it's fine if he doesn't accept. Actually, I have someone else in mind for the position of deputy sect leader. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had an excited expression on his face. "What do you think of Brother Joie?" "Little Master?" Little Silver was blank. Little Master, in terms of his position in the group, he's indeed qualified to be deputy sect leader. But Little Master's strength is only at the Jindan stage, so I'm afraid it won't be very friendly when recruiting from the outside. And Little Master is working in a government department, so there shouldn't be any way for him to take up a position in the outer sect, right? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal waved his hand. "That's fine. I've already submitted our sect plan to a friend. If the sect is established, our sect will be a light force that will work closely with the government department." "Work together?" Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said, "I don't think I've told Brother Silver about our sect's original intention, have I? As I said before, the needs of modern sects are already different from those of the past. Most sects now take the route of a management company, and train outer sect disciples as trainees, inner sect disciples as newcomers, and inner sect disciples as idols. But sooner or later, we won't be able to continue down this path, and we'll definitely have to adjust it later. Then our sect is a big, relaxed family, and we have to make all the disciples feel at home. After our disciples enter the sect, we won't set up a ranking system based on their cultivation or overall situation. All disciples who join the sect are treated equally and receive the most basic benefits. If you want to advance, you can only complete sect missions to earn reputation points, so even disciples at the foundation establishment stage have the chance to become department heads in the inner and outer sect. In addition, our sect has a dream realization plan that's completely different from other sects. We'll train disciples who have relatively weak cultivation talent but have made great contributions to the sect, and help them realize their dreams, making the impossible possible. It's precisely because of this dream realization plan that we'll set up a special government supervisory team office. So Brother Joie can serve as deputy sect leader of the supervisory team, which won't be a problem at all. Furthermore, Brother Joie has been very active in the public eye in the last few months. His participation will also help the sect expand rapidly in a short period of time, said Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. Little Silver nodded. This was the truth. Little Master wasn't very strong, but he was clearly a genuine child of Providence. Little Master's shadow could be seen in almost every major incident in the last few months. Odd Joie was the main reason why the Mahjong squad in Songhai First Prison had been established. Furthermore, he had heard that in order to deal with foreign infiltrators this time, the Mahjong squad had helped General Bai display his invincible might and rendered meritorious service. These people should have been sentenced to death, but now that they had performed meritorious deeds to atone for their crimes, the death penalty could probably be reduced to a reprieve, and then they would be locked up for a few thousand years. But the problem was that it was questionable whether these people would be able to live for several thousand years. Thus, while they were serving their sentences, the Mahjong squad had to work day and night to complete all kinds of assigned tasks in exchange for points to atone for their crimes. The dream realization plan sounds amazing. Little Silver was completely fired up by grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's enthusiasm. Although he didn't know how this dream realization plan would work, it did sound like a good project that would benefit the people, so it was inevitable that the government would be interested. This dream realization plan is amazing. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal snorted. Actually, this dream realization plan had another name, Audiobook's plan, which could also be called the scapegoat plan. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had specially devised this plan in order to attract Wang Ling. When a sect was established, a specialized scapegoat group would be set up. And Audiobook would be the leader of this scapegoat group. What's the name of the sect? Asked Little Silver. It's already been registered. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal chuckled and gave Little Silver a file. This sect name had been registered 5 years ago. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had already been slowly implementing his plan to establish a sect since 5 years ago. Then, Little Silver looked at the name of the sect. He almost jumped in fright. War. Chapter 793. The golden 3-inch man who was the embodiment of heavenly Tao really wanted to cry, but he always felt very powerless in front of Wang Ling. He had been summoned here again and again this month, and it wasn't to trade resources or anything like that, but to ask about secrets. These secrets were all secrets of the heavens. The most important thing was that it was one thing to trade for secrets of the heavens, but who would use crispy noodle snacks to make a trade? It was all his father's fault for using crispy noodle snacks to make a trade with the youngster in front of him, which had created this true devil. Speak, what's the matter? The golden 3-inch man sighed as he completely accepted reality. Wang Ling was rummaging through his drawer. He actually didn't have many crispy noodle snacks left, and he was actually very reluctant to give them away. So he had just been rummaging through expired crispy noodle snacks. The flagship store had a recycling service for expired crispy noodle snacks, and Wang Ling was a privileged gold card user, so the flagship store could even collect them at his doorstep. But then Wang Ling thought that he should leave some expired crispy noodle snacks for Heavenly Tao. So before the summer camp had started, Wang Ling had used his privileged doorstep service to get Loopy Toad to help him with the exchange. But what he got in return were expired crispy noodle snacks. A complete crispy noodle snack pack could be exchanged for 3 expired crispy noodle snacks. The golden 3-inch man was blank at this scene, and immediately stretched out his hand. Young hero, please wait. Wang Ling turned his head. The golden 3-inch man, actually, you don't have to use crispy noodle snacks to make a trade. We only provide a loan service here. You can ask questions first, and you can exchange your handwritten copies later. That good? Wang Ling's eyes lit up when he heard this. As expected, this heavenly Tao had a conscience. Wang Ling sighed in his heart. But the problem was that he had already prepared expired crispy noodle snacks. It would be a pity not to use them. Perfect, I have 3 questions. Wang Ling spoke lightly, and then presented the 3 expired crispy noodle snacks. The golden 3-inch man was startled. Past, expired? Wang Ling raised his eyebrows and stared at the heavenly Tao as he said firmly, I'm not making a deal with you to see what you want, but what I have. The golden 3-inch man was about to cry. Let's begin. Wang Ling stared at the golden 3-inch man. The little golden man wanted to cry but had no tears. A golden scroll appeared in his hand. This is the Book of Heavenly Mysteries, a golden scroll specially used to record the mysteries of heaven. You can write a question on this Book of Heavenly Mysteries, and the answer will naturally appear on it. The Book of Heavenly Mysteries was a supreme magic tool that recorded all the secrets of the Great Tao. It was an existence that surpassed the natural fate of heaven and earth, so it was naturally more powerful than world-defying magic tools. Ordinary people had to pay a price for prying into the secrets of the heavenly Tao. All the secrets sealed in the heavenly secret vault could be found in the Book of Heaven's Secret. Of course, these secrets had to be related to the heaven's way. There were still a lot of useless questions, such as what so-and-so liked to eat, what could be used against him, and so on. If these people did not have a strong connection with the heavenly Tao itself, then it would be useless to ask them. According to the laws of the heavenly Tao, the price of spying on the Heaven's legacy vault was as follows. 1. Prying into the secrets of heaven requires an equal price in exchange, and if necessary, the price is your life. 2. For Rule 1, if you have to pay the price of your life after obtaining the answer, the questioner will turn to dust within 48 hours and disappear completely. 3. If the person prying into the secrets of heaven is an extremely evil person, they will not be able to reincarnate after death. 4. After obtaining the answer, the person prying into the secrets of heaven must keep the secrets of heaven secret. If they leak the secrets of heaven, they will be punished by heavenly Tao by lightning and will never be able to reincarnate. 5. The person prying into the secrets of heaven must cultivate more than 100 heavenly Tao, or obtain more than 3 outer Tao. 6. The person prying into the secrets of heaven can consume an equal amount of their lifespan to reduce the price of their offerings. 7. Heavenly Tao reserves the right to explain everything. 8. Those on the Heavenly Tao whitelist are not subject to the above rules, and Wang Ling happened to be on the Heavenly Tao whitelist. Hence, the golden 3-inch man had never been able to do anything about Wang Ling. If anyone else wanted to pry into the secrets of heaven, nothing could be more tragic than paying the price with their lives. Wang Ling just had to hand in the homework he didn't want, or even the expired crispy noodle snacks. With privilege, you could do whatever you wanted. Helpless, he could only accept it. What was the saying again? The Heavenly Tao reincarnated, whoever Wang Ling spared. The bitter fruit that had been sown back then was finally being borne out by them. Thus, when Wang Ling wrote down the question he wanted to ask in the Book of Heavenly Secrets and raised his head again, he noticed that the golden 3-inch man's blurry face was actually shedding tears. He was actually crying. Wang Ling didn't understand. What an amiable person he was. The little golden man wiped his tears and put away the 3 packets of expired crispy noodle snacks in front of him. Although Wang Ling was usually already privileged enough to exchange his handwritten exercise books for resources, these 3 packets of expired snacks really weren't as good as handwritten exercise books. Your question has already been received by the Heavenly Secrets Warehouse. You'll need to wait about 3 or 4 minutes for the answer to appear in the Book of Heavenly Secrets. The golden 3-inch man rolled up the Book of Heavenly Secrets again and put it in front of Wang Ling. Waiting for 3 or 4 minutes was just enough time for a song. Suddenly, the little golden man had an idea, and decided to play a song for Wang Ling. Listen, this song. The little golden man just clapped his hands, and a melodious, 3-dimensional voice instantly filled the room. The prelude to the beautiful song rang out. Wang Ling, this is the little golden man, this is the Heavenly Tao songstress singing. Each of us Heavenly Tao has a different task. When many cultivators pass away in meditation, a lantern will appear in front of them and they will also hear melodious music, which is the Heavenly Tao songstress singing silently behind them. Thus, the Heavenly Tao songstress's voice isn't something that ordinary people can hear. The Heavenly Tao songstress's voice has countless variations, and it's a collection of the most beautiful voices in the entire dimensional universe. Every voice can be studied to imitate a musical instrument, so the Heavenly Tao songstress can sing as she sings. Wang Ling, At that moment, the Heavenly Tao songstress, who had countless voices, had already finished singing the prelude. The song officially began, always asking for things from me, but never saying thank you. It wasn't until I grew up that I realized that crispy noodle snacks were cheap. Every time I made a deal, I pretended to be relaxed, smiling and saying, let's make a deal, I'll give you the expired snacks. The little golden man. So, is there anything you want to say? Wang Ling, it sounds good. The little golden man had already completely given up on resisting Wang Ling. Forget it, if it's expired, then so be it. Chapter 794. The Green Sect Enterprise Investment Committee was essentially a foundation. Although it hadn't been established for long, it had already helped many small and medium-sized enterprises build bridges with the newly established Light Force sects, recommend investments, analyze the market, and achieve a win-win situation in the short term. Note that the angel investors mentioned here were all small and medium-sized enterprises. The truly large consortiums wouldn't contact them through intermediaries. Companies nowadays paid attention to compounding profits. If they wanted to achieve economic growth in the short term, they had a large enough capital chain, so they didn't have to consider long-term investments. Thus, investing in new sects was very beneficial for some small and medium-sized enterprises. Everyone was in the stage of development, and investing in one or two sects that looked like they had more potential would give them a certain proportion of shares. If the sect developed in the future, it would be a very considerable income. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had learned a little about the investment committee before. If the bosses really took a fancy to a sect, it would actually be very easy to pull in 1 or 2 billion. Some rich and overbearing enterprises could even invest several billion in the initial construction of the sect, but this was all in Huaxia currency. Whether it was Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal or Odd Joie, this was the first time they had heard of a company investing directly in immortal gold. Converted to Huaxia currency, this investment was a whole 400 billion. Did this boss have a mine at home? 1 billion immortal gold, he's definitely a mine owner. Salianjinren and the others were also shocked by this figure. I think we still need to be a little more cautious. But Face held his 2 paws and swung his tail. Brother Dog is right. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal nodded. Although Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had expected that the sect structure would definitely attract investors who would be genuinely interested, offering 1 billion immortal gold right off the bat was too much of an exaggeration, and it felt like they were deliberately taking the bait. Do you have any relevant information on the company you're investing in? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal asked Odd Joie. After returning from the remains, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had asked Odd Joie to take care of the Enterprise Investment Committee. Because of Odd Joie's position in the general administration of 100 schools, it was very convenient for him to ask colleagues from other departments, otherwise this process would have taken some time. All the companies that have been approved by the Green Sect Enterprise Investment Committee have already passed the relevant qualification checks. That colleague just gave me the information on that company. Its full name is Anderson Technology, and it has branches both at home and abroad, mainly focusing on cultivating children's interest in cultivation. Child cultivation? This word was actually quite new to the ears of many people here, because no one here had children. But in fact, the term child cultivation was not a new term. Children's cultivation is a newly developed sunshine industry in the last few decades. There are various types of industries, which are intended to cultivate children's interest in cultivation from a young age and unearth their potential in cultivation. Anderson Technologies has made great achievements in the field of psychological counseling and motivation, as well as building a foundation for preschool children, said Odd Joie. There was nothing much to say about the field of psychological counseling and encouragement. Through one-on-one or one-on-many psychological counseling sessions, children who were not very interested in cultivation would be guided to develop an interest in it. Based on scientific data, even if they were not very talented, if they had a strong passion for cultivation from a young age, it would be of great help to their later growth. As for the foundation for preschoolers, this industry was also one of the signboards of Anderson Technology. It was mainly for preschoolers to lay a solid foundation before they built their foundation in the future, in order to prevent situations where their foundation was unstable. If the foundation of their realm was unstable, then there would be a long period of bottlenecks when they broke through to the foundation establishment stage, one of the 9 stages of qi condensation. After they advanced to the foundation establishment stage, their realm might even regress. Anderson Technology had developed a variety of products and related courses to help children stabilize their foundation in this field, which were widely praised by parents. Odd Joie said, using its achievements in these 2 fields, Anderson Technology has opened branches both at home and abroad, attracted several rounds of financing from angel investment companies, and finally successfully went public in the country. This is a legitimate state-owned enterprise. But because Anderson Technology hasn't been around for a long time, it isn't as well known as Huaguo Water Curtain Group. But given its current annual profit growth rate, by the year after next at the latest, it will definitely be listed among the world's top 500 companies and stand as an equal with Huaguo Water Curtain Group. So this Anderson Technology is pretty reliable? Listening to Odd Joie's description of Anderson Technology, the others were all stunned. This is a certified enterprise, so there shouldn't be any problems. But their investment is indeed a little unusual. Odd Joie also lowered his head in thought. This enterprise had all the qualifications and had outstanding achievements in its field, but for some reason, Audiobook had an ominous premonition. If this angel investment of 1 billion immortal gold went ahead, Anderson Technology would probably own almost 70 to 80% of the General Office of Strategic Deception's shares. Although grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had a lot of startup capital, it was far less than 1 billion immortal gold. 1 billion immortal gold. Even if he used it to set up a new sect, he would be able to open 7 or 8. In any case, I think we should be a little more cautious. What do you think, brothers? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said. Senior Immortal is right. Enrich nodded. Investing is certainly a good thing, but sometimes there are risks. We've only met the other party by chance. Even if they're interested in our sect, it doesn't seem normal for them to invest such a huge sum in one go. It's good to be cautious. Dharmaraja also nodded. Good. Brother Zhua, I'll have to trouble you to contact that colleague of yours. We'll set up a time with this investor to visit some of the sect sites. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal thought for a bit, then looked at Audiobook. In any case, since the other party had come to invest with such sincerity, it wouldn't look good to directly reject them. Anderson Technology was a big company. Although they didn't know why they would suddenly want to invest in a new sect, and it seemed like there was something fishy about it, in any case, they still had to meet with the person in charge first. At the very least, they had to understand what they were thinking. When? Audiobook asked. Let's make an appointment tomorrow morning, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said. Chapter 795. The Green Sect Enterprise Investment Committee was essentially a foundation. Although it hadn't been around for long, it had already helped a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises build bridges with newly established light force sects by recommending investments and analyzing the market, thus achieving a win-win situation in the short term. Note that the angel investors mentioned here were all small and medium-sized enterprises. The truly large consortiums wouldn't contact them through intermediaries. Companies nowadays paid attention to compounding profits. If they wanted to achieve economic growth in the short term, they had a large enough capital chain, so they didn't have to consider long-term investments. Thus, investing in new sects was very beneficial for some small and medium-sized enterprises. Everyone was in the stage of development, and investing in 1 or 2 sects that looked like they had more potential would give them a certain proportion of shares. If the sect developed in the future, it would be a very considerable income. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had learned a little about the investment committee before. If the bosses really took a fancy to a sect, it would actually be very easy to pull in 1 or 2 billion. Some rich and overbearing enterprises could even invest several billion in the initial construction of the sect, but this was all in Huaxia currency. Whether it was Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal or Audiobook, this was the first time they had heard of a company investing directly in immortal gold. Converted to Huaxia currency, this investment was a whole 400 billion. Did this boss have a mine? 1 billion immortal gold, he's definitely a mine owner. Enrich and the others were also shocked by this figure. I think we still need to be a little more cautious. But Face held his 2 paws and swung his tail. Brother Dog is right. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal nodded. Although Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had expected that the sect structure would definitely attract investors who would be genuinely interested, offering 1 billion immortal gold right off the bat was too exaggerated, and it smelled like they were deliberately taking the bait. Do you have any relevant information on the company you're investing in? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal asked Audiobook. After returning from the remains, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had asked Audiobook to take care of the Enterprise Investment Committee. Because of Audiobook's position in the general administration of 100 schools, it was very convenient for him to ask colleagues from other departments, otherwise this process would have taken some time. All the companies that have been approved by the Green Sect Enterprise Investment Committee have already passed the relevant qualification checks. Just now, my colleague from that department showed me the information on that company. Its full name is Anderson Technology, and it has branches both at home and abroad, mainly focusing on cultivating children's interest in cultivation. Child cultivation? This word was actually quite new to the ears of many people here, because no one here had children. But in fact, the term child cultivation was not a new term. Children's cultivation is a newly developed sunshine industry in the last few decades. There are various types of industries, which are intended to cultivate children's interest in cultivation from a young age and unearth their potential in cultivation. Anderson Technologies has made great achievements in the field of psychological counseling and motivation, as well as building a foundation for preschool children, said Audiobook. There was nothing much to say about the field of psychological counseling and encouragement. Through one-on-one or one-on-many psychological counseling sessions, children who were not very interested in cultivation would be guided to develop an interest in it. Based on scientific data, even if they were not very talented, if they had a strong passion for cultivation from a young age, it would be of great help to their later growth. As for the foundation for preschoolers, this industry was also one of the signboards of Anderson Technology. It was mainly for preschoolers to lay a solid foundation before they built their foundation in the future, in order to prevent situations where their foundation was unstable. If the foundation of their realm was unstable, then there would be a long period of bottlenecks when they broke through to the foundation establishment stage, one of the 9 stages of chi condensation. After they advanced to the foundation establishment stage, their realm might even regress. Anderson Technology had developed a variety of products and related courses to help children stabilize their foundation in this field, which were widely praised by parents. Audiobook said, using its achievements in these 2 fields, Anderson Technology has opened branches both at home and abroad, attracted several rounds of financing from angel investment companies, and finally successfully went public in the country. This is a legitimate state-owned enterprise. But because Anderson Technology hasn't been around for a long time, it isn't as well known as Huagua Water Curtain Group. But given its current annual profit growth rate, by the year after next at the latest, it will definitely be listed among the world's top 500 companies and stand as an equal with Huagua Water Curtain Group. So this Anderson Technology is pretty reliable? Listening to Audiobook's description of Anderson Technology, the others were all dumbfounded. This is a certified enterprise, so there shouldn't be any problems. But their investment is indeed a little unusual. Audiobook also lowered his head in thought. This enterprise had all the qualifications and had outstanding achievements in its field, but for some reason, Audiobook had an ominous premonition. If this angel investment of 1 billion immortal gold went ahead, Anderson Technology would probably own almost 70 to 80% of the General Office of Strategic Deception's shares. Although Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had a lot of startup capital, it was far less than 1 billion immortal gold. 1 billion immortal gold. Even if he used it to set up a new sect, he would be able to open 7 or 8. In any case, I think we should be a little more cautious. What do you all think, brothers? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said. Senior Immortal is right. Xilianjinren nodded. Investing is certainly a good thing, but sometimes there are risks. We've only met the other party by chance. Even if they're interested in our sect, it doesn't seem normal for them to invest such a huge sum in one go. It's good to be cautious. Dharmaraja also nodded. Good. Brother Joa, I'll have to trouble you to contact that colleague of yours. We'll set up a time with this investor to visit some of the sect sites. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal thought for a bit, then looked at Audiobook. In any case, since the other party had come to invest with such sincerity, it wouldn't look good to directly refuse. Anderson Technology was a big company. Although they didn't know why they would suddenly want to invest in a new sect, which seemed to be full of tricks, in any case, they still had to meet with the relevant person in charge. At the very least, they had to understand what they were thinking. When? Audiobook asked. Tomorrow morning, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said. Chapter 796. This was the fastest meeting in the history of the Heavenly Tao Adjudication Committee. Since ancient times, no one had dared to kill the Heavenly Tao Whitelist. Back then, the Heavenly Tao Whitelist had been created in response to Tao Ancestor Wang's call. The number of people protected by the Heavenly Tao Whitelist was extremely limited, and could be counted on one's fingers. Wang Ling was just one of them. Even so, Wang Ling's position on the whitelist was extremely special. Wang Ling was a Heavenly Dao whitelist VIP client. Strength Heavenly Dao had already mentioned this early on. Since he was a VIP client, he naturally had VIP privileges. Since everyone is of the same opinion and has decided to punish him, how many days is a suitable punishment? Strength Heavenly Dao asked. Punishment was punishment, and the scale was naturally appropriate. Considering that Wang Jin was Dao ancestor Wang's grandson, if his power of Heavenly Dao was confiscated, his strength would naturally be greatly reduced in the short term. If he ran into trouble while his strength was greatly reduced, that would be bad. When Strength Heavenly Dao said this, the Heavenly Dao fell into deep thought. Spirit Heavenly Dao said, "How about 81 days as the limit?" Space Heavenly Dao shook its head. Isn't 81 days a little too long? Spirit Heavenly Dao, attacking a VIP whitelist is a crime punishable by death. This is already the greatest protection we can give him. Space Heavenly Dao, but if we're too heavy-handed, I'm afraid it won't be easy to explain to Dao ancestor Wang. If something happens to Wang Zhen, how will we explain the situation to His Excellency Dao ancestor when we pay our respects at his heroic spirit palace every year? Hello, His Excellency Dao ancestor. Let's work together to confiscate your grandson Wang Zhen's Heavenly Dao, and accidentally kill him. Please forgive us, His Excellency Dao ancestor. Well, how about 49 days? No, 49 days is a little long. In the end, time Heavenly Dao sighed. 7 days it is. We'll confiscate all his power of Heavenly Dao for 7 days. I hope he can reflect on his actions in 7 days. Also, we have to send someone down to explain the situation to Wang Zhen. If he does anything to that lord again, it won't be as simple as 7 days. The Heavenly Dao nodded. Okay, let's do that. On the other side, in Wang Zhen's spiritual domain, the tens of thousands of clones summoned by the Great Separation spell densely filled the entire spiritual space, completely surrounding Wang Ling. These clones were all physical, and as they punched him, it wouldn't be so easy for him to dodge. Wang Ling frowned slightly as he pondered how to deal with this situation. The moment Wang Zhen charged with a roar, a golden light actually pierced through the mental domain and directly struck Wang Zhen. With a pained roar, Wang Zhen was sent flying like a scarecrow. This golden light was very strange. It didn't look like it had penetrated the space wall, but had actually directly transcended space and appeared in Wang Zhen's spiritual space. Moreover, this golden light contained the supreme aura of Heavenly Dao. Although the golden light had only appeared for a brief moment, Wang Ling firmly believed that he hadn't smelled it wrong. This was the power of the Heavenly Dao. The appearance of this golden light directly shook Wang Zhen away. Struck by this golden light, Wang Zhen instantly knew something was wrong. *T. The next moment, his spiritual space split open. Outside Midnight Dining Hall, Wang Zhen came back to his senses, his face full of amazement. Separated by a door and a glass wall, he felt Wang Ling's aura inside, and his hands actually started to tremble involuntarily. Now, Wang Zhen had a strange feeling. He felt that a lot of the power hidden in his body was slowly flowing away like sand. Wang Zhen was shocked. How is this possible? In the next moment, Wang Zhen really did feel it. His power of Heavenly Dao disappeared. Furthermore, it had completely disappeared. Not even a strand of hair was left. No, how could this be? Wang Zhen clutched his head, unable to believe what was happening in front of him. Why couldn't he use any skills? Could it be that the Heavenly Dao skill was on cooldown? That wasn't right. He remembered that the Heavenly Dao skills were all instantaneous, so how could there be a cooldown? This despicable thief had actually set him up. Inside the shop, because Wang Zhen's spiritual space had been interrupted by the golden light of Heavenly Dao, he was forced to withdraw from it. In fact, Wang Ling didn't want to leave the spiritual space. He had wanted to take this great opportunity to ask Wang Zhen a few questions, but he never expected the Heavenly Dao to actually stop him. A great opportunity to ask questions was ruined just like that. Wang Ling stared outside the door, a little depressed. Looking at the swaying figure outside the door, Tan Xian asked in a very low voice, Why hasn't the boss come in yet? Has he been at the door all this time? Shoo! Grenade-throwing senior immortal made a shushing gesture. Can't you tell? This boss is also a Daoist expert. He looks like he's not moving at the door, but I'm guessing he's probing. Brother Ling happens to be here, so he's communicating spiritually with this boss. In a fight between experts, the lowest level was to start fighting as soon as they saw each other. The intermediate level was to first rely on a battle of words to force the other party to make a move first, and the highest level was nothing more than the current situation. Both sides didn't seem to be moving, but in fact, they had already permeated each other's spirits and were having a friendly exchange of pointers. Tan Qian was suddenly enlightened. So that's how it is, as expected of Ling Jinren. Wang Ling didn't know about the Heavenly Tao whitelist, and didn't know that Wang Zhen had been forced to leave the spiritual space because the Heavenly Tao had ruled that his Heavenly Tao had been confiscated. However, he saw Wang Zhen standing outside the door looking like his wife had been snatched away. Wang Ling guessed that this person had probably run into some kind of thorny problem. Should he go and take a look? Wang Ling got up and slowly walked over. Wang Zhen was so startled by Wang Ling's movement that all his hair stood on end. Although he didn't know why he suddenly couldn't use the power of Heavenly Tao, but Wang Zhen also knew that all of this had something to do with Wang Ling. This person's strength was even more terrifying than he had imagined. He could actually restrain the power of Heavenly Tao. If he was just a simple thief, how could he have this kind of ability? After thinking it over at top speed, Wang Zhen couldn't help feeling a storm in his heart. Although he didn't want to admit it, Wang Zhen indeed had no choice but to re-examine Wang Ling. He wondered if he had recognized the wrong person. Maybe this senior inside wasn't the thief, and the thief was someone else. Just as Wang Zhen was about to open his mouth to talk to Wang Ling, dark clouds gathered in the sky at that moment and thunder rumbled. When Wang Zhen turned his head to look behind him, his expression changed dramatically. Leave him. It was as if he heard the sound of great Tao that only he could hear. In the next moment, this sound of great Tao turned into a bolt of heavenly lightning that pierced through his head. This scene, Wang Zhen couldn't be more familiar with it. Heavenly Tao lightning, plus the fact that he couldn't use Heavenly Tao spells. At that moment, Wang Zhen was finally convinced that he had been judged by the Heavenly Tao. Chapter 797. This situation was completely out of Wang Zhen's expectations, and far beyond his own. He never thought that he would actually be wanted by Heavenly Tao while he was still alive. A bolt of heavenly punishment struck him precisely on the top of his head. This was a warning, not a threat to his life, so apart from turning his hair into an afro, it didn't affect his body in any other way. But what Wang Zhen could be sure of was that if he continued to get close to Wang Ling, given that he was wanted by Heavenly Tao's lightning of heavenly punishment would fall continuously, and each strike would be stronger than the last. Thus, after recognizing this fact, Wang Zhen's first reaction was to retreat. He had no other choice now. In a situation where the power of the Heavenly Tao was prohibited, his overall combat strength was greatly reduced. Perhaps if he were to fight Bai Zhenao, it was possible that he could end up in a draw, or even be at a disadvantage. If he were to continue to be injured in such a state, it would really cost him his life. When Wang Zhen saw Wang Ling's aura approaching him, he almost hysterically yelled at the small shop, You, don't come over here. Wang Zhen was horrified to realize that he actually couldn't resist Wang Ling's aura. Now that he had lost the power of Heavenly Tao, the other party's oppression was several times stronger. Several times stronger. Wang Ling, who didn't know what was going on with Wang Zhen, just wanted to check on him. Who knew that as soon as he approached, Wang Zhen would start screaming as if he had seen a ghost. When Wang Ling opened the door and saw Wang Zhen directly cupped his face in his hands, and even his appearance had turned into the world-famous painting, The Scream. As he screamed, Wang Zhen could only shake his feet and start to retreat frantically. But before he could get far, Wang Ling saw Wang Zhen cry out as he fell head first to the ground in the distance. His body had actually gone limp from fear under the oppressive aura, and when he flew through the air, he lost the strength to support himself and directly fell to the ground. Boss Tan's younger brother Tan Qian and grenade-throwing senior immortal were horrified at this scene. What happened? Tan Xian looked into the distance. Damn, why does the boss look like he's seen a ghost? Grenade-throwing senior immortal cupped his chin and seemed to understand the current situation a little. Sure enough, my decision to bring Brother Ling here was the right one. If you don't do anything shameful, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. Brother Ling has never met this boss before, yet he's scared to this extent. This boss must have a guilty conscience. Looks like there's something wrong with this Tushing technology. Wang Ling was speechless. Huh? He's really Buji Island. Who knew why this person attacked him as soon as they met? He even claimed that he was a thief. Just a moment ago, he was still acting like he was going to use the heavenly Tao to punish him. In the blink of an eye, this person had left the battlefield. Not only did he disconnect, but he also looked as if he had seen a ghost. Thus, Wang Ling stopped moving. After observing for a moment, he saw the man struggling to crawl out of the ground like a drowning salted fish. His face was deathly pale, and the expression on his face was incomparably ferocious. Those who didn't know might think that he was bewitched. Brother Ling, this person doesn't look too good. Is he sick? Do you want to go take a look? Grenade-throwing senior immortal asked. He had overlooked a situation just now. If there was nothing wrong with this boss, then it was very likely that he himself was sick. Unfortunately, it had flared up at this stage of the negotiation. This was also one possibility. Wang Ling pursed his lips. He had too many questions to ask Wang Zhen. But just as he took a step in Wang Zhen's direction, the latter quickly cried out in alarm like before, "Mo, devil. Don't come any closer. I surrender." When Wang Zhen cried out in alarm, his throat was clearly trembling. Wang Ling didn't believe it, and took another step forward. Then, he saw Wang Zhen's eyes directly roll back into his head, and he straightaway became motionless. Grenade-throwing senior immortal slowly walked over and checked Wang Zhen's condition. He was still breathing, but he had already completely fainted from fear. At the same time, this scene was also witnessed by the 6 great heavenly Tao in the alternate dimension. Wang Zhen had already fainted, so the lightning of heavenly punishment naturally stopped. Wang Zhen was no longer a threat to Wang Ling, and it was very clear that he had also received the punishment he deserved. Even if the power of heavenly Tao recovered in 7 days, it would probably take some time before it could make a move against Wang Ling again. Strength heavenly Tao sighed. If you had known this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Life and death heavenly Tao smoothed things over. He can't be blamed for everything. After all, apart from the ancestor of Tao creation, no one else knows about the white list rule. That's right. Space heavenly Tao nodded. So I don't think it's a bad thing. It's also good for Wang Zhen to know about it earlier. After all, that person's identity is very special. It's better to recognize friend from foe and let go of past grudges and grievances. In the end, it was all thanks to his ancestors that he could achieve what he had today. Unfortunately, the Wang family has been imitating His Excellency Tao ancestor all these years, but no one from the Wang family has ever been able to surpass him. In the end, His Excellency Tao ancestor's era is over. I don't think so. Spirit Heavenly Tao had a different view. In the end, Ling's existence is a variable. He's someone who can change the entire structure of the Wang family. Otherwise, His Excellency Tao ancestor wouldn't have paid the price in blood back then. Soul Heavenly Tao, they've been fighting below all this time. Why didn't His Excellency Tao ancestor make things clear from the beginning? At the very least, he should have left some information. The misunderstanding is getting bigger and bigger now. If things can't be stopped in the end, what should we do? Time Heavenly Tao, the secrets of heaven can't be revealed. Some things can only be understood and not explained. If His Excellency Tao ancestor made everything clear, there would be no point in testing the descendants of the Wang family. It's easy to obtain Tao, but difficult to comprehend it. Apart from Tao itself, no one can take the 3,000 great spells away. When Time Heavenly Tao said this, all the Heavenly Tao fell into deep thought. They recalled Dao ancestor Wang's hopeful expression when he had set up this game of chess back then. He had always firmly believed that the descendants of the Wang family could break through fate and break through this obstacle. As time Heavenly Dao said, it was easy to obtain Dao, but difficult to comprehend it. Sometimes, letting go of obsession wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Unfortunately, as the eldest grandson of the Wang family, Wang Jin didn't know when he would understand this principle. Chapter 798. After Wang Jin fell unconscious, Wang Ling used the great teleportation spell to teleport grenade-throwing Senior Immortal and Wang Jin to Chrysanthemum Island, where Immortal Toya was. Ever since Immortal Toya had overcome the Kuan's belly girl's coma, he had made new breakthroughs in his research on difficult diseases like coma, and had developed many new drugs. These drugs might not work on the Kuan's belly girl, but surprisingly, they were very effective on patients suffering from vegetative diseases in the outside world. It was said that a lot of patients suffering from vegetative diseases who had been unconscious for more than 100 years had miraculously woken up recently. Almost every day, couriers would come to Immortal Toya's island to deliver silk banners as fast as possible. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, Wang Ling and Wang Zhen landed directly at the place where Immortal Toya refined elixirs. In the alchemy room, the Kuan's belly girl was wearing a snow-white hospital gown, which Cai Jinren had asked Immortal Toya to change into. The gown was made of a special material that would automatically clean the dirt on the skin, so there was no need to bathe even if she was unconscious. Furthermore, the gown was very thin, so acupuncture could still be performed on her acupuncture points even if she was wearing clothes. Brother 2, where are Jin Shi and Yin Shi? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal asked as soon as they landed. He had already sent them a text message before coming, so Immortal Toya wasn't frightened at all. He smiled slightly. Jin Shi and Yin Shi are outside receiving deliveries. They probably received a lot of silk banners today. Where's the patient? Let me take a look. Saying that, Immortal Toya cleaned his hands and turned his gaze to Wang Zhen. He waved his fingers in the air, and Wang Zhen's eyelids were pulled by a small gravitational force. After checking Wang Zhen's pupils, Immortal Toya took his pulse and looked inside Wang Zhen's body. Brother 2, how is it? It's probably an intermittent coma caused by shock, but it's nothing compared to the symptoms of the Kuan's belly girl. This gentleman is very strong. Even if I don't prescribe him medicine, he'll be able to recover on his own. Sometimes, it's mostly psychological factors. As for how long it will take for him to wake up, it all depends on the extent of this gentleman's psychological trauma. Of course, you can still use medicine. I'll make some medicine later and inject it into this gentleman. He might wake up soon, Immortal Toya said. That's good. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal nodded. But speaking of which, Senior Immortal, what scared this gentleman to this extent? He's one of my investment clients. We were supposed to meet today, and I wanted Brother Ling to check on him for me. I didn't expect this client to test Brother Ling's spirit as soon as he came up, and after the test, he was so scared by Brother Ling. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal sighed a little gloomily. Wang Ling, scared of Ling Jinren? Immortal Toya frowned deeply. Ling Jinren is such an amiable person, how could he scare someone like this? I think Senior Immortal should be careful. This gentleman is most likely up to no good, perhaps he's not here to invest at all. The so-called investment is just an excuse. Thank you for the reminder, Brother 2. I'll be extra careful from now on. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said, actually, while we were waiting for the investment at Midnight Dining Hall, Brother Daoist Guang introduced me to a reliable investor. I heard that it was his #1 fan who recommended him, and Brother Guang acted as a go-between and built an excellent bridge for us. Wang Ling, the #1 fan, without a doubt, this #1 fan was Father Wang. Recently, Father Wang had been fascinated by Daoist Guang's live stream. Ever since the chicken dinner, he had been watching it almost every day. Furthermore, he was far ahead in terms of contributions as a fan, and his ID was still that, did 3 days and 2 sleeps update today? That was to say, Father Wang had helped recommend an investor? Who on earth could it be? What kind of investor? Immortal Toya asked. We don't know who it is yet, we'll only know after we meet. The other party's person in charge has already set a time for tonight. Brother Ling and I will be just in time to catch up, said grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. In that case, I wish Senior Immortal success in advance. Immortal Toya smiled. But I hope that before Senior Immortal and Jinren leave, you can help me control this gentleman. He's very strong, and if he does something out of fear after he wakes up and destroys my Chrysanthemum Island, it won't be worth it. After he wakes up, I'll immediately inform Senior Immortal and Jinren. Wang Ling nodded. This was a given. Given Wang Jin's strength. Wang Ling estimated that even 1,000 Immortal Toyas couldn't match up to 1/10 or 2/10 of Wang Jin's battle strength. This was a very strong opponent. So Wang Ling raised his hand and didn't stand on ceremony with Wang Jin's suppressive spells, and directly used the Great Confinement Spell, Great Magic Suppression Spell, Great Spirit Sealing Spell, Great Suppression Spell, Great Gravity Spell, a total of more than 30 heavenly Dao to suppress Wang Jin in all aspects. If Wang Ling hadn't undone these spells, Wang Jin would actually be no different from a vegetable. That night, after the failed negotiations in the afternoon, grenade-throwing Senior Immortal and Wang Ling returned to Midnight Dining Hall, where Boss Tan's younger brother Tan Qian worked. The second investor, whom Daoist Guang and his #1 fan had recommended, was a reliable one, and the appointed time was 7:00 in the evening. It was now less than 5 minutes to 7:00. Because this person had been recommended by Father Wang, Wang Ling wasn't sure if this person had seen him before, so he cast the Great Transfiguration spell on himself to make a simple change in appearance. Wang Ling had always been cautious, so when grenade-throwing Senior Immortal saw Wang Ling's actions, he already understood and didn't ask too many questions. A few minutes later, a figure appeared at the entrance of the shop. After pushing the door open, the person bowed deeply to grenade-throwing Senior Immortal and Wang Ling. Hello, I'm the person in charge of the investment negotiations this time. You can call me Mai Yuqiang or Mai. Brother Mai, please sit down. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal hurriedly got up. Seeing this, Tan Qian also hurriedly turned around to prepare food. Senior Immortal, you don't have to be so polite, I'm just following orders. This man called Mai was full of smiles. Senior Immortal, you can rest assured about this investment. Our higher-ups have already decided to fully support Senior Immortal's sect development. Aren't you going to take a look at the location of my sect? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was stupefied. This had actually already been decided? The higher-ups believe that you can rest assured and leave the sect's operations to Senior Immortal. We're only responsible for delivering money, oh, no, for investing. May I ask who Brother Mai's higher-ups are? Huaxiao Nation's Alliance of Cultivators, also known as Huaxiao Alliance. The head of state will take the lead in this investment plan, and the 10 generals will invest separately. The total investment is 2 billion immortal gold bars. Chapter 799. 2 billion, that's a lot. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's mouth dropped so wide that he felt like he could stuff an egg into it. 2 billion immortal gold, this investment was too exaggerated. This was no longer a problem of having a mine at home. The person in charge, Mai, cleared his throat. Perfected Immortal is indeed someone who has seen the world. Ordinary bosses would definitely faint on the spot when they hear this number. This shows that Perfected Immortal is indeed capable of accepting this angel investment. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, no, he was just too shocked and forgot to faint for a moment. At this point, Mai looked at the disguised Wang Ling. Senior Immortal, may I ask who this is? This is Ling Jinren, our sect's future guest official, as well as one of the main officers, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said. So this is Ling Jinren? Sorry for not recognizing you. Wang Ling's heart trembled. His Daoist name, Ling Jinren, had always been a shell, like a smurf. He had never known that his Daoist name would actually have a voice outside the chat group. It seemed like it was time for him to change his Daoist name. For a moment, Wang Ling's mind was full of thoughts as he pondered his new Daoist name. My king? I have already left the palace. how about crispy noodle snacks? After learning that the person sitting next to grenade-throwing senior immortal was Ling Jinren, Mai's expression instantly turned solemn. I really didn't know that Ling Jinren would actually be traveling with senior immortal this time. To be honest, I'm a little excited just thinking about it. This feeling is even better than buying 10 family buckets and eating the skin of a finger-sucking original chicken. Grenade-throwing senior immortal, Wang Ling, grenade-throwing senior immortal. Brother Ling has always kept a low profile. How did Brother Amai find out about him? Ling Jinren naturally keeps a low profile, but senior immortal, you should know how many people are watching your cultivation forum. It really isn't easy for senior immortal to run it to this extent. Actually, there were a lot of posts online analyzing senior immortal's backer, and in the end, it was only natural that they would find Ling Jinren. Now, this Taoist named Ling Jinren was quite famous not only in senior immortal's forum, but also on other websites. Actually, I'm also very curious. How did you manage your website? How is it managed so well? Grenade-throwing senior immortal's face flushed from the praise. Not at all, not at all, it's all thanks to Brother Ling and the nation. Read more books, read more newspapers, eat less snacks, sleep more, pay your internet fees on time, and pay your taxes on time. You are right, perfected cultivator. I nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Just recently, the tax bureau exposed a showbiz actress's Enyang contract, and the fine was 800 million immortal gold. This matter caused quite a stir. Thus, after listening to grenade-throwing senior immortal's words, Amai was extremely moved. As expected, senior immortal is a man who sees the big picture. Huaxiao Alliance hadn't chosen the wrong person. Actually, Huaxiao Alliance already had plans to invest in the cultivation forum to begin with. When we heard that senior immortal wanted to establish a sect, and with the head of state's personal approval, this matter naturally fell into place. So that's how it is. But Brother Amai, 2 billion immortal gold is a bit much. Ha ha ha. Perfected cultivator, please don't decline. Our investment of 2 billion immortal gold won't be paid in one go, but will be divided into 5 installments. After the first installment, it will depend on perfected cultivator's ability to run the sect. If the sect fails, the subsequent investment may have to be put on hold. Perfected cultivator, I need to make this clear first. Of course. Brother Amai's words put my mind at ease. Grenade-throwing senior immortal nodded and said, dividing the investment into installments was indeed a more reasonable choice. Grenade-throwing senior immortal was very confident in his sect's operation, but he didn't want to cheat other people. While 2 billion immortal gold was a huge investment, the sect was only at the initial stage of construction, after all, and didn't need so much money. There were many aspects that needed to be adjusted before the budget could be determined. When the time came, he wouldn't be able to circulate such a large sum of money to expand the economy, and it would really be a waste of this investment. But if it was divided into 5 installments, grenade-throwing senior immortal was very confident that this investment would be used appropriately. To tell you the truth, perfected cultivator, Huaxiao Alliance actually originally planned to invest 2 billion immortal gold, grenade-throwing senior immortal, then why did it rise to 2 billion? Oh my, didn't we just get fined 800 million, grenade-throwing senior immortal and Wang Ling? Has perfected cultivator thought about the specific date for the sect's establishment and announcement? Amai asked. Of course, next Tuesday is an auspicious day. Grenade-throwing senior immortal, I've already ordered people to complete the overall plan for the sect, and a lot of the facilities have already been set up using the model spell. When the time comes, we just need to move the model onto the ground and cast the spell, and the sect will be established in an instant. That day will also be the day our General Office of Strategic Deception will be established. This is a big deal. After I go back this time, I'll definitely inform Huaxiao Alliance to get in touch. Once perfected cultivator has confirmed the specific time for Tuesday, you can let me know, and I'll send out hero invitations to all the major light forces in the name of the General Office of Strategic Deception. Let them witness the birth of this new sect together. Can I send out hero invitations? Grenade-throwing senior immortal had no idea this could be done. Of course you can. I said resolutely. Logically speaking, sending out hero invitations to the light forces requires Huaxiao Alliance's approval, which takes 1 to 2 months. But Perfected Cultivators sect is now in an alliance with Huaxiao Alliance, so the process can naturally be very simple. In that case, thank you, Brother Mai. That's easy. Mai waved his hand. Also, I need to emphasize that Perfected Cultivator can't directly say that this investment is from Huaxiao Alliance, but from a joint investment of private companies. I'll compile a list of the relevant investors and send it to Perfected Cultivator. Who are these private companies? These private companies were established by the children of the 10 generals through their own hard work and sweat, and are also light forces. The situation outside is tense right now, please understand, Perfected Cultivator. Alright. Grenade-throwing senior immortal and Brother Mai looked at each other and smiled, instantly understanding each other. That's right, Perfected Cultivator. Do we need special guests for the sex establishment? If you do, Perfected Cultivator, feel free to point them out. On your behalf, we can call all the big shots of the light forces, including the sect leader. We do need guests, but wouldn't that be too high profile? I don't need many people, just 10. Just 10 people? There are millions of light forces, and Perfected Cultivator only needs 10 people. That's really too low-key. As expected of Perfected Cultivator. Which 10 do you want? Tell me about it. Are the 10 generals free? Chapter 800. It was the evening of August 6th on Sunday in the 15th week of the semester. The investment in Grenade-throwing senior immortal's new General Office of Strategic Deception sect had officially been signed at the Midnight Dining Hall branch opened by Boss Tan's younger brother. The total investment amount was 2 billion immortal gold, and would be divided into 5 installments of 400 million each to be transferred to the General Office of Strategic Deception's bank account for the sect's construction. That night, the Green Sect Enterprise Investment Committee, or simply the Green Investment Committee for short, announced the news on its official website. This news was also announced on the official website, and for a moment, hundreds of thousands of light sects in Huaxiao Nation were shaken. No one could have imagined that a newly established sect would actually have so much power to attract such a large amount of angel investment. This had already broken the Green Investment Committee's investment history. The largest investment it had pulled in the last time was 8 billion, but this was only in ordinary Huaxiao currency. It couldn't compare to 400 million immortal gold at all. 100 million immortal gold was equivalent to 40 billion, 400 million immortal gold was equivalent to 160 billion, which was 20 times more than what the Green Investment Committee had invested in the second place. What kind of power was this? Light force sects were divided into 5 classes: Sky, Earth, Black, Yellow, and Earth. A sex class was assessed at the time of its construction, which was called a preliminary assessment. The preliminary assessment was based on the sect's core members' lineup and battle strength, the sect leader's status and influence in the cultivation circle, as well as the sect's overall construction and economic strength in the early stages. After the sect was established, Huaxiao Alliance would conduct a fair assessment of the sect's disciple recruitment and operating standards each year, based on the sect's date of establishment and the sect's performance. Based on this preliminary assessment, the sect's rating would be raised or lowered. That night, Grenade-throwing senior immortal's General Office of Strategic Deception's preliminary assessment was also released by Huaxiao Alliance. Sky level 3rd class sect, a sky level sect right off the bat, and a 3rd class one at that. This preliminary assessment shocked everyone in the light force circle. Perhaps a lot of people who didn't understand this assessment wouldn't have any idea, but if they compared it with the ratio, it was quite shocking. There were 320,000 registered legal light forces in Huaxiao Nation, of which 95% were Black, Yellow, and Earth level sects, 3% were Earth level sects, and only 2% were Sky level sects. According to this ratio, among the more than 6,000 Sky level sects, there were less than 20 sects that were ranked 5th or higher. Most of the Sky level sects were 7th, 8th, and 9th grade sections. Among them, the competition between the Heaven rank 9th rank sects was the fiercest. If they were not careful, they might drop to the Earth rank in the second year's assessment. Therefore, the birth of a sky-level sect had to go through a historical evaluation. Currently, the top 20 sky-level sects in the records all had sect histories of hundreds or even thousands of years. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's new sect, which had just been established, had actually been assessed as sky-level class 3. A lot of people paled at the sight of such a formidable starting strength. Many of the big shots of the light forces started to investigate the investors behind their sections. In the end, according to the Green Investment Commission, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's sect was a joint venture. Furthermore, these joint venture companies were involved in various industries and had very wide connections. It was actually very difficult to investigate them all at once. There were even some low-key companies who usually didn't appear in the news and didn't have any gossip about them. They were the kind of companies that made money in silence. Even the bosses of these companies were very low-key, and their names were actually very unfamiliar. All of this was naturally thanks to Aomai. He had already achieved his goal. Sky level class 3. Senior Immortal is too strong. And he managed to pull in so many big shots to invest in him? After seeing the news in the chat group, Dharmaraja sent out a series of emojis. Tsalyenjinran, Senior Immortal is awesome. Ajwa, Senior Immortal is awesome. Daoist Guang, Senior Immortal is awesome. Loopy Toad, Senior Immortal is awesome. Immortal Toya, Senior Immortal is awesome. Little Silver, Grenade throwing is awesome. Wei Ji, congratulations, Senior Immortal. Fang Xing, the formation is off, OCD is so uncomfortable. Wang Ling, it's mainly because Brother Ling's fame has spread far and wide that the investment this time went very smoothly. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was very modest. To be honest, even he himself had never expected this investment to go so smoothly. Everything had simply gone so smoothly that it was unimaginable. Apart from his many years of accumulation and planning, the person he should be most grateful to was actually Wang Ling. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal wasn't a fool, and he was well aware of this. While he had a wide network of contacts, how could they compare to this Brother Ling of his? Daoist Guang might be able to pull in investments for him because of Wang Ling, and a large part of the reason why these big shots had responded to his sect's call for investments was also because of this. Speaking seriously, I just read the group announcement. If Senior Immortal has confirmed that the sect will be officially established next Tuesday, then we have to take precautions accordingly. Tsalyenjinran said, tonight, the Green Investment Committee and Huaxiao Alliance have both made announcements, and the Light Force Circle has been greatly shaken. Senior Immortal has sent out hero invitations, and naturally there will be friends who sincerely wish him well. But sometimes, when there's a comparison, people will be jealous. There are already a lot of people investigating the investor behind Senior Immortal. That's fine, just let them investigate. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal laughed. The biggest manipulator in this situation was Huaxiao Alliance, and it would be very difficult to investigate Huaxiao Alliance. But on the day of the sect's official opening, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal thought that even if he didn't say anything, as long as the 10 generals showed up, the Light Force sect bigwigs would be well aware of it. But in the group, only Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal himself, Wang Ling and Daoist Guang, who had been responsible for setting up the bridge back then, knew about Huaxiao Alliance's investment. Because of the need to keep it confidential, this matter couldn't be made public for the time being, including the core members who didn't know about it. Since they didn't understand, a lot of people in the group would naturally be worried. You can't let your guard down. Everyone, don't worry. I prepared myself for any eventuality. Everyone, please conserve your energy and get ready to witness the opening ceremony of our General Office of Strategic Deception next Tuesday, August 8th. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal sent a fist salute and a cheering emoji, and then suddenly remembered that there was something else he hadn't said. Oh, that's right, after discussing it with Brother Ling will be changing his Daoist name to join the sect as a visiting official and leader of the sect's recreation hall. Ling Jinren's new Daoist name? What is it? A lot of people asked. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch, this is Brother Ling's new Daoist name. Everyone, quickly write it down in your notebooks. Chapter 801. For a moment, the establishment of the new sect made all the light forces nervous. That night, many sky-level sects received invitations from grenade-throwing senior immortal to join the new sect. In many people's view, this was a show of strength, as if he was using his actions to tell everyone that the new sect wasn't afraid of any challenge. It was rare to see a sect established with such grandeur. In the history of the famous heavenly sects, the Reliance sect was the one with the most momentum. However, most new sects were established with the feeling of having three fires burning in them. Thus, Reliance sect's reputation was the most resounding in the first and second years of its establishment. Later, as the sect leader, Patriarch Reliance went to set up a school affiliated with the sect, became its headmaster, and began to work in the education industry. Patriarch Reliance was a smart man. He understood the principle that a tall tree attracts the wind easily attracts trouble. It was precisely because of this that Patriarch Reliance, in the 2 years since the founding of the sect, had deliberately suppressed its power. It could be said that he had a tacit understanding to maintain the balance between the heaven-class sects of the Light faction. The full name of the Sky Light Alliance was the Sky-Level Sect Light Alliance Exchange Committee. This was a non-governmental organization set up by sky-level sects at or above the 5th level, and its nature was to manage finances. Back then, the Sky Light Alliance had been established to deal with the cash flow problem of sects at or above the 5th level. The 5th level of a sky-level sect was a watershed, and to reach it required at least 100 or even 1,000 years of foundation. Many sects that had reached the 5th level would basically run into a cash flow problem in the short term, which was why the Sky Light Alliance had been established. Thus, sky-level sects at or above the 5th level were now huddling together for warmth, just so that their level wouldn't drop so easily. This was a little like the level jams in games. Some players who were good at playing would deliberately form groups of jams and organize actors in high-level games to maintain their own levels. In fact, this phenomenon had been going on for a long time. Unfortunately, whether it was the balance of power or the Sky Light Alliance, it was directly broken the night grenade-throwing senior immortal announced the establishment of his new sect. As of today, there were already 17 sects above the 5th level that had joined the Sky Light Alliance, accounting for 80% of the total. Of the 4 that hadn't joined, one of them was a first-rank sect, the Immortal Palm Tree sect. Behind the Immortal Palm Tree sect was the Huagua Water Curtain Group. This was a subsidiary sect of the Huagua Water Curtain Group, and its main business was nurturing various kinds of alchemists. As for the remaining 3 sects, one of them was a level 3 sect, the Fighting Horse sect. This was a subsidiary sect of the Shao clan. This sect operated a legal horse betting ring. The other was a level 2 sect, the Thousand Beasts sect. This sect's main business was to raise spiritual beasts. The head of this sect was also an acquaintance of grenade-throwing senior immortal, Crying Old Immortal. This was the vice president of the Pet Trainers Guild. In fact, grenade-throwing senior immortal had already known Wei Ji before he had met him. The last third-class sect was naturally grenade-throwing senior immortal's General Office of Strategic Deception. A long time ago, the number of sky-level light sects above the 5th level had been maintained at 20. Now that a sky-level 3rd level sect had suddenly appeared out of nowhere, the first to feel threatened were the light forces that had joined the Sky Light Alliance. Most of those who didn't join the alliance had backers behind them, so they disdained joining the alliance at all. The problem was that no one knew if their own sects would fall after grenade-throwing senior immortal's new sect was established. Thus, that night, the 17 sects in the Sky Light Alliance gathered their brains and strength and began to analyze and investigate the nature of the General Office of Strategic Deception. How powerful were 17 sky-level sects above the 5th level? For the time being, they still couldn't find out which force was behind grenade-throwing senior immortal's new sect, but they had already thoroughly investigated the core members of the organization. More than 10 bigwigs were sitting in the Sky Light Alliance's conference hall. They were all the leaders or deputy leaders of their sects, and had specially convened to discuss countermeasures to deal with grenade-throwing senior immortal's new sect. Because of the urgency of the situation, some of the bigwigs who were too far away to make it directly used holographic projection technology to participate in the meeting remotely. The president of the Sky Light Alliance was Lu Yuming, the leader of a 4th-class sect called Cthulhuism Society. Although Cthulhuism Society didn't sound like a proper sect, it was in fact a very proper and legal one. Its members mainly collected statues or figurines of evil gods from all over the world. These crudely made figurines and sculptures often hid rare resources or even ancient scrolls of secret techniques. This was because a long time ago, there had been a time when the practice of sealing secret techniques in ugly sculptures was popular. They would break down and analyze these statues and figurines of evil gods, and finally resell the treasures they obtained at a high price. At the same time, this leader of Cthulhuism Society was also a cosplayer. Today, Liu Yuming was cosplaying a character called Bubble Teapot. Sitting in the president's chair, Liu Yuming had a sharp look in his eyes. Everyone, we're facing a huge challenge right now, and it's a critical time of life and death. This new sect is coming at us aggressively. What do you think? This new sect isn't simple. My suggestion is to try and see if we can rope them in first. A sect leader of a 5th-class sect said, "This great death-courting senior isn't simple. I heard that he was able to escape death from evil sword god back then, so he definitely has an expert behind him. As for the other core members of the sect, none of them are simple characters. Tsalian Jinren, who's known as the ex-boyfriend killer, Immortal Toya, the successor of the Thunder Clan, Lightning Dharmaraja, and even that director Zhua, who's been in the limelight recently, have all joined as part of the inspection team. That's right, this kind of lineup is unusual." Speaking up to this point, many of the people present sighed endlessly. The sect leader of a 5th-class sect went on to say, "Of course, what worries me the most is that Crispy Noodle's true monarch, who we haven't been able to find a single clue even with the combined strength of our 17 sections. I don't know if it's because I'm ignorant and inexperienced, but I've never heard anything about this Daoist name before. This great death-courting senior has always been cautious, and would never recruit someone he doesn't know. It's a little unusual for him to join out of nowhere." "Could he be a sect manager?" someone asked. Sect managers were a profession that had become popular in recent years, and were mainly responsible for improving the overall economic situation of a sect after settling in. However, there had always been a vacancy in the manager circle, and many sects couldn't find anyone. "I'm familiar with the sect manager circle, but I've never heard of such a person." Chapter 802. Skylight Alliance. Senior Immortal, are you saying that you've received an email from this alliance? In the chat group, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal shared a screenshot of an email with the group. It was an email from Skylight Alliance, and the gist of it was that they hoped the General Office of Strategic Deception could also join the alliance. Furthermore, it was stated in the email that if Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was willing to join, he would be given the position of deputy leader of the alliance. "What do you think?" asked Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. "It's very obvious that they're pulling the strings." Lightning Dharmaraja said, "I've heard of this alliance a long time ago. There are currently 17 sky-level sects above level 5 in the alliance. During the sect assessment every year, these 17 sects help each other get a rating, so that the sects at the bottom can't get a promotion even if they want to. If they want to get a promotion, they have to pay a protection fee and agree to join the alliance. But our sect has only just been established, and we're already assessed as Sky level 3. This is probably beyond their expectations. Has anyone complained? Essentially, the alliance's behavior isn't a crime. It's just that the way they protect each other is a little shameless, so Huaxiao Alliance can't directly manage them. There are endless ways for sects to compete in business. This is too normal." Dharmaraja shook his head and said, "Furthermore, these are all sky-level sections. To be able to reach level 5 or above naturally means that they have a certain level of foundation, and won't be easily shaken. It's very obvious that this is a test." Tsalian Jinren sent a sighing emoji. "If we don't agree, it's obvious that these 17 sects will join forces to push us aside. This will be very detrimental to our sect's future development. Senior Immortal, you have to be careful." Of course. I've already checked just now, and I can basically find people I know from the 3 sects that haven't joined the alliance. If the 4 of us who haven't joined the alliance join forces, the situation might be very different. Speaking up to this point, grenade-throwing senior immortal smiled slightly. Panic was chaos. There was no way they could panic. After all, they still had Wang Ling as their trump card. By the way, I'm very curious as to why Ling Jinren's new Daoist name is Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch. It shouldn't be as simple as Crispy Noodles, right? Dharmaraja suddenly asked in the group at that moment. This was what everyone wanted to know. What realm was Ling Jinren at? In their eyes, they were like living fossils that had existed for thousands of years. How could they come up with such a seemingly meaningless name? There must be a deeper meaning behind this. Oh, you're asking about this? Brother Ling told me about it before. Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch is a Daoist name with a double meaning. Grenade-throwing senior immortal said, this crispy noodles doesn't just represent crispy noodles. It's also a verb, meaning that when you slap someone on the face, the sound is very clear and crisp. Everyone, what F** King Crisp? As expected, the culture of Cathay is broad and profound. After all, basically no one in the group had ever been slapped by Wang Ling, and they didn't have this kind of profound experience. But this Daoist name was in fact risky, because if the Mahjong squad in Songhai First Prison heard this Daoist name, they might guess that it represented Wang Ling. Hence, Wang Ling had suggested a very fashionable alternate Daoist name for grenade-throwing senior immortal, Dao Monarch Gon Si. The format of this Daoist name was the same as Monkey D. Luffy's. It was the second day after Wang Zhen had been sent to Immortal Toya's Chrysanthemum Island. This was also the second patient Immortal Toya had treated on the island in recent months. The first was that Kun Belly girl, but after a long period of awakening and treatment, the girl had only turned from a deep coma to a shallow one. After a slight skin stimulation, the girl's fingers were already showing signs of moving. Shifu, when will she wake up? Because they had to take care of Wang Zhen, Jin Shi and Yin Shi had been in charge of taking care of the Kun Belly girl since last night. Acupuncture with golden needles was a profound art, and it was usually hard to find a suitable target to practice on. It just so happened that there was a vegetable lying here. Although Jin Shi and Yin Shi were usually very careful, it didn't matter if they made a mistake. Where could they find such a suitable opportunity to practice together? Immortal Toya heaved a long sigh. This girl's condition is more serious than I thought. If she doesn't wake up soon, she'll only be able to wake up when the daily life of the Immortal King comes to an end, which is when Ling Jinren graduates from Senior 3. Jin Shi and Yin Shi, Immortal Toya, this frivolous author has only written 800 chapters in one semester. There are still 5 semesters before Ling Jinren graduates, which is 4,000 chapters to go. If the girl doesn't wake up soon, I'm afraid she won't wake up for the rest of her life. Jin Shi and Yin Shi, at that moment, Wang Zhen's eyelids trembled slightly as he lay on the Kun Belly girl's bed, and at the same time, he was babbling nonsense. Wang Zhen was dreaming, his dream was fragmented, and he recalled what seemed to have happened when he was a child. In his dream, Wang Zhen returned to when he had just been born, and his parents surrounded him with happy faces. Our Jinjin is blessed by the heavens. He learned 100 great Tao as soon as he was born. The woman in his dream hugged him gently and smiled warmly at him. The blood of our Wang family flows in Jinjin's veins, and his talent goes without saying. Among the younger generation of our Wang family, he has the best chance of standing up to the Gu family as an equal. That old guy Gu Yanji's son was born not long ago, and only has 50 heavenly Tao. In the end, he's no match for our Wang family's bloodline. After saying that, Wang Zhen saw the man lift him high into the air. Look, our son is so sturdy. He comprehended 100 heavenly Tao as soon as he was born. It won't be long before he achieves spiritual intelligence, and he'll be able to talk and walk. It's best to use medicine to assist him in achieving spiritual intelligence. It'll be a little gentler. The woman smiled. No. But the man waved his hand. The blood of our Wang family flows in Jinjin's veins, and the blood is the best tonic. He'll become dependent on medicine, but I believe that Jinjin will awaken on his own. But in order to help Jinjin awaken, it's better to use physical assistance. Physical assistance? That's right. The man nodded. In the next moment, under the woman's stupefied gaze, he directly threw Wang Zhen to the ground. Wang Zhen wailed loudly. The man stepped on Wang Zhen's head. Honey. Look. Our son's head is so hard. Hurry up and give him a couple of kicks to provoke him. He'll awaken very soon. The woman, is this, okay? The man, trust me. You can't be wrong. On the ground, Wang Zhen, who was wailing loudly, finally burst out with a powerful cry of resistance under the combined beating of the couple. Devil. Stop. Chapter 803. Wang Zhen suddenly woke up with a start. It was as if he had been liberated from a nightmare after being beaten by a couple, who were also his biological parents. But when he woke up, he inspected his body and his surroundings. There was still something wrong with the situation. Because this was the body he had when he was 5 years old. Now, Wang Zhen was in his bedroom. It was as if his entire body had been smeared with anesthetic, and he couldn't move at all. Wang Zhen didn't know where he was now, because he had fainted after coming out of the midnight dining hall. Wang Zhen deduced that he had probably unconsciously entered his childhood dream while unconscious. Had he returned to being 5 years old after he was born, after waking up, Wang Zhen was a little nostalgic and a little scared. At that moment, a familiar and fearful voice came from outside the door. Jinjin fainted after failing to awaken yesterday. I wonder if he's awake yet. What should we do? I heard that Gu Qing next door has already mastered 500 heavenly Dao. His mother even came to show off to me yesterday. I'm so angry. For all, honey, don't be angry, you can't blame Jinjin for this. Actually, it's all my fault. The man sighed with some self-blame. It's all my fault for forgetting to communicate with the new physiotherapist. Jinjin absolutely can't use medicine to help him awaken. I didn't think that after the physiotherapist used the medicine yesterday, Jinjin's body would actually instinctively reject it. Then what should we do now? Is there any hope for Jinjin to surpass Gu Qing? Jinjin has now mastered more than 400 heavenly Dao. As long as Jinjin recovers in the short term, his cultivation progress won't be delayed. Our Wang family's bloodline is the best. Very well, I'll listen to you as to what we should do. After saying that, the couple pushed open the door and entered. Wang Zhen's eyes widened as he stared at the pair of demons in horror. Seeing that Wang Zhen had woken up, his mother hurriedly hugged him. The woman's tremendous strength around Wang Zhen's neck almost caused him to burst. Ah! Jinjin, you're awake. His father touched Wang Zhen's forehead and sighed. You don't have a fever, but you don't look too good. And it seems that Jinjin can't move right now. I think it's an allergic reaction to the medicine. His father sat on the edge of the bed and gripped Wang Zhen's hand tightly. Jinjin, tell Daddy, are you sore, and numb all over right now, and it also seems to be a little itchy? If so, blink. Hearing this, Wang Zhen's eyes suddenly widened, and he didn't dare blink at all. Then, Wang Zhen saw the man stretch out a fist at him. Jinjin, do you see this fist the size of a sandbag? Wang Zhen, his father smiled at him. Son, fist. As soon as he said that, an incomparably dazzling light suddenly erupted from the fist, and Wang Zhen involuntarily quickly closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he saw that the light from the solar fist had disappeared. His father stared at him again, his expression very serious. Darling, look, he really blinked. Wang Zhen was so shocked that all the hair on his body stood on end. Forcing yourself to blink was still possible. His mother looked at Wang Zhen with a distressed expression. Then, what should we do? His father, everything is as I deduced. We have to get Jinjin to recover from his allergic reaction as soon as possible. I just asked him if he was itching all over, but didn't he blink? His mother was startled. Darling, do you mean Jinjin's skin is itching now? Wang Zhen, his father nodded. That's right, that's what I mean. And Jinjin even blinked. Wang Zhen, his father, it's not good for a child to have an allergic reaction. It's most likely just itching, so he'll be fine after a beating. His mother had a look of sudden realization. So that's how it is. His father, darling. Now, learn from me. Move your left hand and right hand in slow motion, and take turns. His mother had a pained expression on her face, and she sounded like she was about to cry. Okay. Daddy. It's all for Jinjin's good. His father nodded. You must remember to hit every part of your body evenly. I have OCD, if the skin color isn't even, I'll hit him again. Wang Zhen, stop, hurry and stop. 10 minutes later, 5-year-old Wang Zhen was directly beaten into a crispy roast duck by the two of them, and his resistance was successfully activated as he recovered from the allergy. His mother, darling. It really worked. Jinjin can actually move now. His father, as expected of the most outstanding person in our Wang family in recent years, he can actually move after being beaten like this. Next time, I think we can use more strength. No. As soon as the couple said that, Wang Zhen woke up with a start again. The dream wasn't over yet. Wang Zhen was still in his room, but unlike the last few times, he could already move. He went to the mirror in the room and looked at himself. This was what he looked like when he was 10 years old. This part of his memory, Wang Zhen searched it, and found that this part of his memory was actually a blank period. Wang Zhen remembered that he had used a spell to selectively lose many of his childhood memories when he grew up. In other words, not being able to remember this part of his memory didn't mean it was a good thing. Wang Zhen was blank, and suddenly had a bad feeling. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. Come in, Wang Zhen said as he straightened his clothes. An old woman pushed open the door and came in with a plate covered with a red cloth. This was an old servant of the Wang family, and was also Wang Zhen's wet nurse when he was a child, who had watched him grow up. The old woman put the plate down on the table. Lord Young Master, Master, and Madam have gone out today. Wang Zhen was overjoyed when he heard this. It looked like this demon couple wouldn't abuse him again today, but before he could rejoice, he heard the old woman speak again. Lord Young Master, Master, and Madam have asked you to summon your clone for today's beating and try it on yourself. Wang Zhen, what? The old woman, the request is the same as before. When you hit yourself, you must control your strength. The skin must be even, and this old servant will take a photo of the entire process for Master to see. If you don't do well, Master said that you can only wait for him to come back and do it again, and he will teach you step by step how to hit yourself. Wang Zhen, after saying that, the old woman took off the red cloth on the plate. Under the red cloth was a mace studded with jade and gold nails, a whip as thick as a Coke bottle, and a feather duster made of phoenix feathers. The old woman, these are today's equipment. Young Master, please choose. Chapter 804. Wang Zhen was a man with an extremely tragic childhood. He had been beaten up since he was young. In order to stimulate the power of his bloodline to the greatest extent, his real father and mother used this method to beat him up to 1,500 heavenly daos. Because it was too painful, Wang Zhen had used magic to selectively erase his childhood memories when he was an adult. However, such a method would not solve the root of the problem. After countless cycles of nightmares, Wang Zhen finally recovered this memory that he had already discarded. When Wang Zhen woke up for the last time, the environment in the room was completely different. Wang Zhen was glad to find that he had walked out of the nightmare and was no longer in a dream. For Wang Zhen, this was an unfamiliar place. But now, other than opening his eyes and mouth to speak, he seemed to be unable to do anything. Did someone use a heavenly Dao restriction on him? Wang Zhen couldn't be more familiar with this state. This was because when he was resisting his real father and mother when he was young, the couple would often use the heavenly Dao restriction to imprison him before they started to attack him. Although so many years had passed, Wang Zhen was still very familiar with this feeling. Furthermore, Wang Zhen had already developed a way to break the shackles. Wang Zhen closed his eyes and began to chant in his heart, key that hides the power of heavenly Tao, show me your true strength. As your master, Wang Jin commands you, remove the seal. The incantation ended. A few seconds passed. Wang Jin didn't feel any reaction from his body at all. The seal was lifted. He continued to roar in his heart. Release. Release. After struggling for more than 10 minutes, Wang Jin finally gave up. This was a heavenly Tao seal that was even more powerful than that of his parents. That terrifying person had cast at least a dozen heavenly Tao sealing techniques on him. Now that his heavenly energy had been banned, it would be difficult for him to escape. It was really, the flood had rushed against the temple of the Dragon King. Wang Jin felt that he had most likely made a mistake. This person might not be the real thief. The thief had only stolen 1,500 heavenly Tao from him at most, and the person in front of him was clearly much, much stronger. This power was already far beyond what Wang Jin could imagine. If that was the case, even if Baizhi gathered all 6 heretic paths, he might not be able to contend against it. For a moment, Wang Jin lay in bed, his mind full of wild thoughts. The most important thing right now was to find a way to retrieve his sealed heavenly energy and then leave this place. Although Earth was only a lower realm in the eyes of everyone on Ninefold Star, but at the same time, Earth was also a planet with the most uncertainties. One had to know that the Wang family's Tao ancestor, the founder of Ninefold Star, had ascended from Earth. Wang Jin sighed in his heart. In the end, he still underestimated the lower realm. At that moment, Wang Jin heard footsteps approaching. "Senior, you're awake?" It was Immortal Toya's voice. Then, Wang Jin saw a man who looked like a celebrity. From his clothes, he looked like a doctor. "Senior, you've been unconscious for 2 days." Immortal Toya said, "You'll find that you can't move because Crispy Noodle's Tao Monarch has cast several heavenly Tao restraints on you. It's mainly because I'm worried that you'll become emotional after you wake up and hurt me." "Hurt you?" "Yes, Senior. You suddenly attacked Crispy Noodle's Tao Monarch for no reason. We all agreed that you're irritable, and might have a mental problem. We had no choice but to do this," Immortal Toya answered truthfully. Wang Jin smiled bitterly in his heart. The other party kept calling him a senior, but in the end, was still worried that he was the kind of person who would willfully kill the innocent. It was true that people would indeed feel terrified when they were powerful, but Wang Jin had always firmly believed in the principle that every injustice had its perpetrator, and every debt had its debtor. He would never harm the innocent. Just like back at Night Chief, a technician had angered Baizhi, and Baizhi had killed him in passing. In the end, it was Wang Jin who rescued that innocent little brother. Did he really look like a devil? Did they need to treat him like this? He didn't understand. He was probably the senior with the least face, right? Wang Jin sighed. "Then how long are you going to lock me up for?" Immortal Toya, "Since Senior has already woken up, I'll inform Crispy Noodle's Tao Monarch right away. As long as I confirm that Senior isn't a threat, I can naturally help Senior release him. As long as I confirm that Senior isn't a threat, Senior currently has multiple heavenly Tao restraints on him, so he can't use any spells or even circulate his spirit energy normally. But if Senior is willing to promise me one thing, I can use the privilege Crispy Noodle's Tao Monarch gave me to unlock Senior's upper body first. It's fine if you can unlock half of it." Wang Jin knew that he wasn't qualified to negotiate terms at the moment, and could only settle for the next best thing. Immortal Toya narrowed his eyes and said solemnly, "The reason why I'm being so cautious is because I'm worried that Senior will act impulsively and do something irreversible." Saying that, Immortal Toya took out a golden talisman. This was what Wang Ling had given him after casting multiple heavenly Tao seals the last time, and it could unlock Wang Jin's mobility. But to be on the safe side, Immortal Toya only restored Wang Jin's upper body and prepared a wheelchair for him. Then, Wang Jin saw Immortal Toya's hands directly slip into his waist and legs. Wang Jin was startled. "What the hell? What are you doing?" Carrying Senior into the wheelchair, Immortal Toya answered very naturally. "Then I really have to thank you." Wang Jin never thought that not only would he be paralyzed in the world below, he would also be carried in a princess carry. You're welcome, Senior. Immortal Toya smiled slightly. If his friends in the world above knew about this, where would he put his old face? Wang Jin still hadn't come back to his senses when Immortal Toya put him into the wheelchair. Who was he? Where was he? What was he doing? Why had he come down to the world below to look for a thief, only to run into this? Could it be that he was retribution for running away from the wedding? Wang Jin dropped his forehead into his hand. Senior, what's wrong? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? My head hurts. Immortal Toya took out a kitchen knife. I can prepare a craniotomy for Senior. Wang Jin, no, it doesn't hurt anymore. Very well, Senior, if you feel uncomfortable, you must tell me. Immortal Toya narrowed his eyes and smiled. Wang Jin felt like he had seen through this doctor's character a little. It turned out that this guy was a hidden sicko. Wang Jin, by the way, what do you want me to help you with? Immortal Toya, it's like this, Senior, I treated a female patient a while ago, and she's been in a severe coma for a long time. Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch thinks that she might be from your hometown. Hometown? She's from the world above. Wang Jin immediately shook his head. That's unlikely. There were many procedures to go through to get from the world above to the world below, and one had to go through a unified approval process before they were allowed to use the portal. The problem was that Wang Jin was very sure that he was the only person who had used the portal recently. Then Senior, take a look first. Immortal Toya pushed Wang Jin in the wheelchair to the Kuan belly girl. When he saw the girl's face clearly, Wang Jin was so scared that he almost fell off the wheelchair. Chapter 805. When Wang Jin saw the young lady of the Lu family, Lu Qingyi, on the bed, his entire expression was clearly off. Specifically, his eyes were wandering, the corners of his mouth were trembling slightly, and even his hands were making extremely unnatural little movements, as if he had nowhere to put them. Even a fool could tell that there was definitely something going on between these two people. It seems that Senior knows this girl, asked Immortal Toya. No. I don't know her at all. I don't even know her surname is Lu. Wang Jin's reply was very swift. But it was very obvious that at that moment, Wang Jin's IQ had already gone offline. Senior, I think it's better if you come clean. Immortal Toya sighed. Senior Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch is deliberately giving you a chance. Whether you can grasp it or not depends on Senior's attitude. Senior now has multiple restrictions on you, and you're no different from an ordinary person. If Senior dies in the world below like this, I'm afraid you won't be able to die in peace, right? Are you blackmailing me? Wang Jin grit his teeth. He never thought that he, the grand young master of the Wang family at the ninefold domain of the gods, would actually be reduced to this state. He had spent a lot of energy and time looking for the thief, but not only had he failed to find them, he had even lost all his abilities. And that wasn't the worst part. After losing all his strength, he actually ran into this troublesome fiancé of his. Wang Jin really didn't know whether this was a natural disaster or a man-made disaster. He had been beaten up since he was a child, and never thought that he would still be unable to escape his bad luck. It was as if everything had been arranged by the unseen forces of fate, and it was all crammed together. It was like a billionaire who had lost all his assets in an instant, only to run into his ex-girlfriend, who had brought along a billionaire to taunt him. Was there anything worse in the world than this? Wang Jin wanted to cry a little. Senior, you may not think highly of people like us from the world below. But from the information we currently have, the domain of the gods was also created by a person from the world below back then. It wasn't that you weren't strong enough this time, but that you underestimated me too much, said Immortal Toya. If it hadn't been for Beast King's tomb, no one would have known that there was a place like the ninefold domain of the gods, let alone that there was an even more terrifying realm above venerated immortal. For many people, the existence of the domain of the gods was too illusory. Even Immortal Jin Yuan, who was publicly acknowledged as a cultivation legend, was out of reach of the domain of the gods. But now, Wang Jin was here. This was a great opportunity. Wang Jin pondered for a long time. His gaze fell on Lu Qingyi, and he finally sighed. I can tell you what you want to know, but before that, you have to agree to a few conditions. Senior, tell me about it. I need to leave this place, as long as I'm not by Miss Lu's side. I don't want her to see me after she wakes up. Also, I hope that you will keep the fact that you have seen me a secret. Finally, if I tell you what I know, that Senior Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch must lift the seal on me. Yes. It doesn't sound like excessive conditions. Immortal Toya nodded. But can I ask why Senior is avoiding this Miss Lu like a snake or scorpion? Wang Zhen's face darkened. She's my fiancée, Senior. Your fiancé? Immortal Toya was shocked at this answer. But why would this girl be in the belly of a rotten Kuan? Wang Zhen had been wondering earlier why on earth Lu Qingyi had come to the world below. To come to the world below, one had to report and use a portal to come here. Now that he heard Immortal Toya say this, Wang Zhen instantly understood. It turned out that this guy was deliberately hiding in the Kuan's belly. Thinking this, Wang Zhen couldn't help throwing his head back and letting out a long howl as he lamented, I brought this on myself. I can't live. On the other side, President Bai was also collecting the power of Outer Dao at the same time. The 6 Great Outer Dao represented 6 ultimate abilities: 7-star Devil Escape, Immunity to Physical Damage, Yin-Yang Escape Technique, Magic Injury Immunity, Mind Cleansing Magic Ring, Abnormal Immunity, 5 Elements Ghost Spell, Elemental Enslavement, Firmament's Fury, Outer Dao Punishment, and the Reverse Polarity. That President Bai grasped symbolized the power to defy the heavens and change fate. At that moment, President Bai had arrived at the edge of a cliff shrouded in clouds and mist. This was a place in Mishio Nation called Valley of the Dead. It had once been a holy land for cliff jumping, and countless people had jumped to the bottom of the valley from here. Corpses were piled up at the bottom of the valley, and the Yin aura was extremely heavy. Now, it had instead become a tourist attraction. Cultivators who weren't afraid of death often organized group tours and rode special magic artifacts to come here for sightseeing. However, there had been fewer and fewer people over the years, because there had been a lot of disappearances in Dead Man Valley in the last few years. Cultivation groups who came for sightseeing, and even planes that flew over Dead Man Valley, had mysteriously disappeared in this area. 5 Elements Ghost Spell is here. President Bai's figure swayed in the wind, and his voice sounded a little ethereal through the clouds and mist. Nowadays, normal people didn't dare approach this place. If it wasn't for the fact that Night Ghost Spirit Emperor had obtained this true immortal body, President Bai would have been a little cowardly. A giant centipede climbed onto President Bai's shoulder as Long Ming used the soul insect technique to remotely control it. I've already inspected the bottom of the valley according to Venerable One's orders. As expected, there's something unusual about this place. There were many poisonous insects in Dead Man Valley, and Insect Envoy Long Ming's insect mastery technique played a vital role here. Even though it was extremely dangerous down there, as long as there were insects, Long Ming could control them to investigate. Even if the insects accidentally died, his body wouldn't be affected in the slightest. The Dragon Clan's insect mastery technique was a secret technique that was as famous as the White Clan's creation spell back then. When Night Ghost Spirit Emperor established Night Chief, he had recruited people from all over, and naturally had drawn Long Ming to his side. In fact, Long Ming's and President Bai's experiences were shockingly similar. Dead Man Valley hasn't been peaceful all these years, and I've long suspected that the power of Outer Dao might have fallen here. Unfortunately, I never had the chance to investigate, but now it looks like I'm 90% certain. What kind of Outer Dao is the 5 Elements Ghost Spell? Asked Long Ming. This is the power of elemental enslavement. As long as you can master this spell, you can control the 5 elements and create all kinds of primordial spirits. The leaders of the 5 great primordial spirits are all true immortals. With their assistance, our battle strength will naturally increase greatly. President Bai looked excited as he gazed at the bottom of the cliff. I can't help but get excited. Chapter 806. On the other side, The Skylight Alliance, a friendship organization formed by 17 sky-level sects, also received a reply from Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had tactfully declined the Alliance's invitation. It could be said that the members of the Alliance had completely expected this outcome. How could a sect whose initial level had been directly set at Sky Level 3rd class take them seriously? The sect's foundation alone was already on a completely different level. If the General Office of Strategic Deception was allowed to continue to develop, it would be a real hidden danger. Everyone knew how capable Great Death-courting Senior Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was as the sect leader of a sect. Of all the forums and websites in the country, only the cultivation forum that Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal ran was able to gradually turn a profit every year and maximize its economic efficiency. Even without the joint investment of these companies, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal alone had the ability to establish a sect. Now that they had received this investment, the General Office of Strategic Deception was like a tiger that had grown wings. Lu Yuming stared at Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's reply and was lost in deep thought. Without knowing which sect the other party was a direct descendant of, it was impossible for them to rashly suppress the other party. Furthermore, judging from his reply, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's words were quite tactful, which indirectly proved that while the other party hadn't joined the Alliance, he didn't want to become enemies with the Alliance. As the president of the Alliance, once Lu Yuming decided to exclude the other party, it would be the same as rejecting good intentions and declaring war. This was the most troublesome part of the whole matter. On one hand, the Alliance wanted to curb the power of Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's new sect and prevent it from developing too quickly, giving the other old sect some breathing room. On the other hand, the Alliance couldn't take the initiative to stir up trouble, which would put the Alliance in danger if they didn't know the ins and outs. In recent years, the three great sky-level sects, Immortal Palm Tree Sect, Fighting Horse Sect and Myriad Beast Sect, which hadn't joined the Alliance, were already dissatisfied with the establishment of the Alliance. If they took advantage of this opportunity to join forces with Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's new sect, the Office of Strategic Deception, and incite the other sky-level sects that weren't even 5th class, the Alliance was bound to fall into a situation where it would be difficult to recover. What kind of situation would that be? The countryside surrounding the city. What a wise and mighty great man's strategy. And now, the reason why the Immortal Palm Tree Sect and the others had yet to make a move was largely because they didn't want to take the initiative to cause trouble and stir up trouble. When a sect reached the pinnacle, the sect would often pay more attention to prestige and reputation. The party that initiated trouble would often become the subject of ridicule. Some of the sect leaders present were unhappy. Are we really helpless against this Office of Strategic Deception? There's no other way for now. Lu Yuming shook his head. We can't just attack without knowing the details. I don't think so. At this time, a sect master waved his hand. This sect master was called Sun Hanja, and the Radish King sect he founded specialized in researching all kinds of demon insects and spirit insects. In recent years, the market for dried insects as medicine had been quite good, and the Radish King sect had used this opportunity to rise to become a 5th-rank sky sect a few years ago and join the Alliance. What is Sect Master Sun's opinion? Lu Yuming remembered that just yesterday, this Sect Master Sun was still of the conservative faction. What he advocated was the idea of cowering down and observing first. But today, he had suddenly changed his attitude. It was very obvious that this Sect Master Sun had received some expert's guidance. This Sect Master Sun smiled smugly. Yesterday, a senior suddenly contacted my sect and expressed his willingness to lend our alliance a helping hand in probing the ins and outs of this Office of Strategic Deception. Since he wants to lend the alliance a helping hand, why did he contact you? Shouldn't he contact President Lu directly? Someone asked. Don't worry, brothers, listen to me slowly. Sect Master Sun waved his hand without a care in the world. It's like this. This senior's method of communication is a little special. The other party directly possessed the body of a flying mantis spirit insect that my sect raises and talked to me. At the time, I was inspecting the situation at the breeding farm. Entered the body of an insect? That's right. Sect leader Sun nodded his head. I think this should be the senior's way of concealing his true identity, so he used this level of magic. He pretended to use an insect to convey his opinion, and told me to explain the purpose of his visit to the president at today's meeting. Pretended to use an insect? Hearing this, President Liu narrowed his eyes. To be elected president of the alliance, President Liu naturally wasn't an ordinary person. His vision, knowledge and connections were much more profound than most of the people present. Otherwise, even if he became president, he wouldn't be able to convince the masses. President, do you have any idea? Someone asked hurriedly when he saw President Liu's expression. It's the soul insect spell. Liu Yuming quickly replied. This soul insect spell is one of the secret techniques of the Dragon Clan, which was famous for its insect mastery back then. But according to historical records, the Dragon Clan was exterminated because they offended their enemies, and the entire clan ceased to exist. When clan leader Long Jiangnan of the Dragon Clan was captured, he was still writing a novel based on the deeds of the Dragon Clan. When Liu Yuming said this, many of the sect leaders present suddenly realized what was going on. The eyes of an old man with grizzled hair and beard lit up. I remember this. I attended an auction many years ago, and the original Dragon Clan novel written by clan leader Long Jiangnan was sold for hundreds of millions of yuan. Rumor has it that the secret of the soul insect spell was recorded in it. Liu Yuming said, there's always been a saying in the circle that the reason the Dragon Clan was exterminated back then was because Long Jiangnan was too slow in updating his novels. It was precisely because Long Jiangnan, the leader of the Dragon Clan, was too slow in updating his novels that he was denounced by all sorts of bigwigs and readers. However, there was no proof of this until now. Now that the soul insect spell has resurfaced, it's very likely that this senior's identity is related to the Dragon Clan. Liu Yuming pondered this carefully, then stared at Sun Hanja, the sect leader of Radish King's sect, and said, what is this senior's condition? This senior's condition is very simple, sect leader Sun replied. As long as we secretly set up the transmission crystal prepared by this senior on the day of the Office of Strategic Deception's founding conference, we can leave everything else to this senior. Apart from that, this senior also hopes that our alliance can take action and suppress a school. Which university is it? It's not a university, it's a high school. High school? But there are only foundation establishment students there? President Liu should have heard of number 60 high school, which has been on the news a lot recently, right? I have. That senior said that bullying foundation establishment students is his hobby. Chapter 807. This was a request for cooperation from a suspected descendant of the Dragon Clan. In fact, there wasn't any risk involved in this request. They just had to bring in the transmission crystals that they had prepared beforehand and set them up. For these sky-level sect leaders, this was a piece of cake. The most important thing was that they didn't have to do anything themselves, which also avoided a direct conflict with the Office of Strategic Deception. Liu Yuming had always been a conservative, which was one of the reasons why he had advocated the establishment of the Sky Light Alliance in the first place. It was true that such an act would attract criticism, but at the very least, it would allow Liu Yuming's own sect to stand on the same front with the other sects that were willing to join the alliance and reach an agreement to cooperate. Perhaps there would be many obstacles in the future when a sect was promoted, but as long as the alliance existed, the sect's rank would not drop. The alliance was a line of defense formed by 17 sky-level sects, and could be said to be an impenetrable fortress. Most of the sects in the alliance were at 5th class, and a few were at 4th class, but their overall strength kept each other in check. As long as they were in the alliance, no sect would drop below 5th class so easily. If they wanted to become a 5th class sect, they had to pass the alliance. Liu Yuming had planned this out very well all along, but he never expected the Office of Strategic Deception to suddenly pop up at this time. After sect leader Sun gave his opinion, Liu Yuming pondered it for a long time. After a while, Liu Yuming nodded. Sect leader Sun, please tell him that our alliance can only promise to put some pressure on that high school, but won't kill it in one fell swoop. After all, we have no enmity with that high school. If we go too far, we'll bring trouble upon ourselves. If that senior has no objections, I'll agree. Sun Hanja nodded. Very well. Lu Yoming's decision was within everyone's expectations. This chairman was a conservative person, and he was never one to go to the extreme. Another big reason why Lu Yuming was suffering so much was that he didn't know the true background of this senior, who was suspected to be a descendant of the Dragon Clan. Since the other party was able to find Sun Hanja to convey his opinion on his behalf, he had to have done some research on the alliance itself. However, there were a total of 17 sky-class sects in the alliance. To be able to so easily figure out the alliance's current difficulties and grasp the core of the conflict, the other party was clearly not a simple person. Lu Yoming's intuition told him. This senior descendant of the Dragon Clan might not be the key. Behind the scenes, there was probably an even more powerful person manipulating everything. August 8th, Tuesday in the 16th week of the semester. The Heavenly Almanac wrote, do, start a business, establish a clan, get married, go out, pet cats, apply for a job, confess, delay updates, cast monthly votes, cast recommendation votes, avoid. None grenade throwing senior immortal had thus decided on this day early on. This was a rare good day this year, and if he missed it, he would have to wait 6 years. Grenade throwing senior immortal had been making all kinds of plans for the Office of Strategic Deception since the day he had started the cultivation forum. Now that it could finally be realized, he was very excited. On this day, the Office of Strategic Deception was finally established 80 li away from the Wang family's small villa on East Huang Road. This was a sect built on a mountain and surrounded by mountains on all sides. The entire Office of Strategic Deception was like a dazzling jewel embedded in the mountains. In order to carry out the sect founding ceremony smoothly this time, grenade-throwing senior immortal had specially hired a lot of sect guides. It only took them 1 day to complete their training. Each guide was the cream of the crop as they were university graduates from famous schools. Many of the sect bigwigs who had arrived at the appointed location with invitations were dumbfounded, because the person who received them was a very young and handsome cultivator. This was the youngest professor at Beiyan First Cultivation University in Beiyan City, Yang Bingchuan. Last year, Professor Yang had even won the National Cultivation Gardener Award. Many people still remembered him vividly. But this famous void refinement bigwig professor had actually come here to be a tour guide? After all, Professor Yang was almost an itinerant immortal. Welcome to the founding ceremony of the General Office of Strategic Deception, also known as the Office of Strategic Deception for short. Professor Yang smiled slightly. I'm Yang Bingchuan, leader of the Office of Strategic Deception's patrol team. Perhaps you have many friends who know me? Professor Yang, why are you here? Lu Yuming shivered at Yang Bingchuan's appearance. Grenade-throwing senior immortal is a good friend of mine. His new sect is trying to invite me to be a guest official, and he even offered me a high salary that I couldn't refuse. Naturally, I wasn't in a position to refuse. Furthermore, I'm the team leader, so I can leave a lot of things to my subordinates. Although Beiyan City is indeed a little far from Songhai, it actually doesn't affect my teaching in Beiyan. I see, Lu Yuming and the other sect leaders nodded. Even so, this was already quite an exaggeration. Because they hadn't known that Professor Yang Bingchuan was on the list of names they had received before. That was to say, they might see other bigwigs at today's sect founding ceremony? Professor Yang was all smiles as he said, all of you are sect leaders of large sects, so the sect leaders have specially instructed me to receive you. Now, please follow me on the Office of Strategic Deception's exclusive sightseeing bus. Sightseeing bus. Aren't we already at the sect? This is just a sect relay station. Because the Office of Strategic Deception occupies too much land, you've only arrived at one of the relay stations mentioned in the invitation letter. There are a total of 1,600 relay stations on the periphery of the Office of Strategic Deception's territory, said Professor Yang, leader of the patrol team. May I ask, what is the size of the Office of Strategic Deception's territory? Lu Yuming swallowed. 5,000 square kilometers. Although they were already mentally prepared, when they heard Professor Yang say it with their own ears, the sect leaders' jaws dropped. 5,000 square kilometers was comparable to a district in a second-tier city in Huaxiao Nation. This was the size of the Office of Strategic Deception's current territory, and it could almost be said to be unprecedented. In fact, the initial plan for the sect's territory was 100 square kilometers, but after Huaxiao Alliance got involved, the sect approval department directly revised the land plan to increase it to this much. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal didn't find out about this until later. Maybe they could open a few more broccoli farms? This was what Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal thought when he saw the sect approval document. But the truth was that the Office of Strategic Deception had only just been established, and didn't need so much land. Currently, the Office of Strategic Deception's core area was just the area around the mountain, which was about 20 square kilometers. Even so, the Office of Strategic Deception's rise had already frightened a lot of sky-level sect bigwigs. Chapter 808. It was an intense chill that came from the marrow of their bones. It was so cold that chills ran down their spines, and they felt like they had fallen into an ice cave. Almost all the sky-level sect leaders present could feel this feeling. The 17 sky-level sect leaders of the Alliance had come together this time, and their average strength was around the void refinement stage. So when they saw Professor Yang Bingchuan, who was also at the late void refinement stage and only half a step away from becoming an itinerant immortal, actually standing in front of them as a sect leader, these sky-level sect leaders didn't feel very good. They were grand sky-level sect leaders, but at best, they were just assistants in the Office of Strategic Deception. Many of the sky-level sect leaders were unhappy with this strong sense of disparity. Although Lu Yuming was already considering whether to give up on this cooperation, when he turned on his phone, he found that the group chat was very lively. Sun Hanja, the sect leader of Radish King's sect, was the first to express his dissatisfaction in the group. As a new sect, this Office of Strategic Deception doesn't care about us veteran sects at all. This is a blatant provocation. Everyone. We must carry out this operation. At the very least, we have to test this Office of Strategic Deception's strength. I agree. Very quickly, the sect leaders of the other sects chimed in. This matter is actually not a loss to us. Each sect only has one opening ceremony. If things get ugly, I'd like to see how that great death-courting senior will deal with it. Thus, while Lu Yuming was still considering whether to continue, the group was already in a frenzy. Lu Yuming stared at his phone screen in a daze. At this point, it was clearly too late for regret. In the observation car, Professor Yang noticed Lu Yuming's expression and smiled slightly. Sect leader Lu, you don't look too good. Did you not sleep well last night? Ha ha ha. Maybe I got a chest ache when I was regulating my breathing last night. President Lu casually made up an excuse to look as natural as possible. In fact, the actions of Lu Yuming and the others were all under the Office of Strategic Deception's control. The Office of Strategic Deception's current organizational structure was more complete than any sect could imagine. In addition to the core 7 major organizations, namely the Supervisory Team, Logistics Team, Spirit Medicine Team, Magic Treasure Team, Spirit Beast Team, Goon Team and Leisure Team, there were also many secret sect organizations that weren't displayed on the official website. This was because the official website of the Light Faction only required at least 6 or more core organizations to be listed. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had only written a brief introduction and overview of the 7 major organizations, but a lot of people thought that this was already the entire Office of Strategic Deception, which in fact wasn't the case. Other than the 7 core organizations mentioned above, there was also the Patrol Team, the Intelligence Team, the Scientific Research Team, the Express Delivery Team, and the Film and Television Team. There were all kinds of organizations that were not included. The Office of Strategic Deception was a giant sect that encompassed all the businesses of today's sects, and its future development was naturally aimed at becoming a sky-level first-class sect. This was Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's blueprint for the Empire's sects, which he had been thinking about for a long time. Without official support, it would have been impossible for such a long-cherished wish to materialize. This was also the reason why Professor Yang had agreed to become a visiting official and a team leader of the Office of Strategic Deception. So a lot of the time, as long as you thought about it carefully, you would be able to turn things around. Lu Yuming had thought a lot, so the moment he saw Yang Bingchuan, he already knew that things were bad. But the current situation was already beyond his control. As for the information that Lu Yuming and the others were about to launch an operation, it was naturally the Office of Strategic Deception's intelligence team that had found out. Because not long ago, grenade-throwing senior immortal had cooperated with Mai to secretly launch an attack on Mo Immortal Castle, Songhai City's underground intelligence organization. The entire Mo Immortal Castle was now under the Office of Strategic Deception's control. 9/10 of Mo Immortal Castle's assets would be confiscated by Huaxiao Alliance, while the remaining 1/10 would be brought into the Office of Strategic Deception as the initial fund for a subsidiary organization. The Lord and Lady of the castle had no other choice, because Mai had come with the 10 general signatures. If they resisted to the death, they would only be completely wiped out and sent to prison to play mahjong. Currently, Qin Lang was in charge of the intelligence team. After Devil King woke up from the game, he had planned to travel around. Qin Lang's method of probing with void tree roots had laid a good foundation for the intelligence department. Given the Lord and Lady's performance in the intelligence team, with Qin Lang overseeing things, they naturally didn't dare act rashly. What sect leader Lu is seeing in the tour bus is just the tip of the iceberg for the Office of Strategic Deception, Professor Yang said gently. Lu Yuming nodded. The Office of Strategic Deception's scale is truly unprecedented. I admire it. This was a reminder. As a veteran, Lu Yuming could naturally tell. But Professor Yang didn't directly expose Lu Yuming's operation this time. Because the current Office of Strategic Deception actually wasn't afraid of stirring up trouble at all, as the tour bus passed by a vast shed, Professor Yang looked out the window and said unhurriedly, "What you're seeing now is our Office of Strategic Deception's Heavenly Dao Broccoli Farm No. 1. Farm No. 1 is currently the largest in all of Huaxiao Nation. From now on, the Heavenly Dao broccoli produced by our sect will be sold as a product in supermarkets and food markets, and will be marked with the Office of Strategic Deception's anti-counterfeiting logo." What's so different about Heavenly Dao broccoli? A lot of sect leaders felt like they were going to choke. Research has shown that the Heavenly Dao broccoli produced by our sect can improve the accumulation of toxins below the soul formation stage. To put it simply, it moistens the intestines and relaxes the bowels. Furthermore, long-term consumption has the effect of prolonging life. Our sect leader, grenade-throwing senior immortal, chief of the Office of Strategic Deception, will personally eat our Heavenly Dao broccoli at the opening ceremony, said Professor Yang. Speaking up to this point, someone laughed coldly. I thought it had some effect. If eating this broccoli can help you comprehend Heavenly Dao, that's more like it. That depends on how you eat it. Perhaps you really can comprehend Heavenly Dao. Professor Yang smiled in response. Zhang Xiaohua, our nation's famous botanist and author of the authoritative book History's First Chaos, has already joined the Office of Strategic Deception as the leader of the Spirit Plants Department. Hearing this, the expressions of the sect leaders froze. Even Zhang Xiaohua had joined. Professor Zhang said that there is indeed a very low probability that you can sense Heavenly Dao after eating Heavenly Dao broccoli. That's why we call it Heavenly Dao broccoli. There are so many fake advertisements nowadays, but our Office of Strategic Deception only plays with reality. Chapter 809. The sightseeing bus traveled for a very long time before it reached the Office of Strategic Deception's Northern Square. This square was where all the Office of Strategic Deception's disciples practiced in the morning, and it was so big that it made one's hair stand on end. The most important thing was that the Office of Strategic Deception had 3 other squares like this one. Lu Yuming and many other sect leaders were dealt a blow one after another. As expected, this was a blatant show of wealth, right? A person's jealousy was truly a very scary thing. Even void refinement stage sect leaders were no exception to this. Cultivators could dispel toxins and impurities from their bodies and purify their souls through cultivation, but they couldn't completely extinguish their 7 emotions and 6 desires. In some sense, people who could completely abandon their 7 emotions and 6 desires had already lost their souls as human beings, When Professor Yang led the group of Alliance sect leaders to the northern square, he looked at the time and said, "There's still half an hour before the opening ceremony, and the rest are still on their way. Given that you are our Office of Strategic Deception's distinguished guests, the sightseeing bus took the green lane just now. The wooden huts on the edge of the square are guest tea houses, and there are drinks and pastries inside. Please help yourselves." "Very well, thank you, Professor Yang." Lu Yuming nodded. Actually, while Professor Yang was speaking, he had already noticed that a few of the 17 sect leaders seemed to have disappeared. They had probably gone to carry out their plan. But Professor Yang didn't act rashly and alert the enemy, and didn't even ask too many questions. He just turned a blind eye. And it was precisely this behavior that made Lu Yuming feel very uneasy. Because everything had been going too smoothly. Furthermore, on the way here, Lu Yuming had felt that there was something wrong with this Professor Yang's expression, as if he had already learned about their operation. In the guest tea house on the edge of the northern square, Lu Yuming was fidgeting uneasily as he stared out the window. At that moment, there was a new message in the Alliance group. Everything was ready. Sect leader Sun had already led the other 4 sect leaders to the location designated by the Dragon Descendant Senior. "Sun Hanja, President Lu, we've finished setting up the teleportation crystal. This teleportation crystal looks like it's used for summoning. I wonder what the Dragon Clan Senior is going to summon." A few sect leaders were analyzing in the group. Even through the screen, Lu Yuming could feel the excitement on their faces. "The few of you, come back quickly." Lu Yuming did not say anything else. The location of the teleportation crystal was actually not far from the northern square. Is guild leader Lu afraid? Sun Hanja smiled and said, "Don't worry, Lord President. The few of us have used invisibility talismans. The other side can't see us at all. When I was setting up the crystals just now, there were a few disciples who I suspected were from the Office of Strategic Deception who passed by me without noticing me." Lu Yuming sighed and typed quickly, "Everyone, remember, this is something that we agreed to in the beginning because it was something that we could do in passing. There was almost no risk to it. But even so, everyone, you must play it safe. Being too reckless will not end well." "Ha ha ha. President is too cautious. We'll be back soon," Sect leader Sun said. It was obvious that this sect leader's son was completely unaware of how dangerous this matter was. While President Lu was waiting in the tea house, Professor Yang walked into the tea house with a brocade pouch and a smile on his face. "Sect leader Lu, I forgot to give you something just now." "Lu Yuming, what is this brocade pouch?" "Professor Yang, all the distinguished guests who came to our sect this time were given gifts. There are 17 pieces of jade in this brocade pouch. Sect leader Lu can distribute them later." Lu Yuming's forehead was still beaded with sweat. Yang Bingchuan's sudden entrance earlier had given him a big fright. "Thank you very much, Professor Yang, but these pieces of jade shouldn't be as simple as decorations, right?" "Of course." Professor Yang nodded. "Wearing these pieces of jade has a certain condensing effect on spirit qi, and there's a small spirit gathering array embedded in them. In addition, these pieces of jade are also our Office of Strategic Deception's VIP nameplates. Our sect's defensive barrier was activated 10 minutes ago, but as long as you carry this piece of jade with you, you can release some of the restrictions placed on the sect leaders." Restrictions? Basically, all large sects have a defensive barrier, right? After entering the sect's defensive barrier, there are restrictions on flying, the use of spells and so on. Doesn't sect leader Lu's sect have one? Of course it does. Lu Yuming sweated. He had been observing every movement around him from the tea house just now, but hadn't noticed the Office of Strategic Deception's defensive barrier at all. How brilliant was the person who had set up the array? To actually be able to pull the wool over everyone's eyes without making any noise at all? President Lu vaguely sensed that something was wrong. Just as he was about to send a text message to sect leader Sun and the others to hurry back, Professor Yang said, "Sect leader Lu, please take the trouble to distribute the jade as soon as possible. The defensive barrier has already been activated. If you don't wear a piece of jade, not only will you be restricted from flying and using spells, even the talismans you carry on you won't be effective. Lu Yuming, on the other side, on a hill not far from the northern square, sect leader's son wasn't in a hurry to leave after leading the other 4 sect leaders to finish setting up the crystals. It had only taken them 5 minutes to set up the crystals, and there were now 25 minutes left until the opening ceremony. When they had passed by, the sect leaders had noticed a natural hot spring halfway up the hill, which was now under the jurisdiction of the Office of Strategic Deception's hot spring team. This Office of Strategic Deception really has a lot of business. The other sect leaders who had come along were extremely jealous. Because there were more than 50 natural hot springs like this in the Office of Strategic Deception's territory. With all kinds of industrial chains and rich and varied resources to expand the sect, the Office of Strategic Deception encompassed almost all the business of today's sects, and could simply be called a sect in heaven. Who wouldn't want to come to a sect like this? After setting up the crystals, sect leader's son received an urgent message from President Liu, telling him to hurry back. Standing at the mouth of a cliff, the wind blew as he looked down at the magnificent Office of Strategic Deception below, feeling indignant. He wanted to see how long this Office of Strategic Deception could be so smug. President Liu is urging us to go back. To be on the safe side, let's take a shortcut, sect leader's son said after taking a deep breath. All right. The other sect leaders nodded their heads. Then, who's first? Asked sect leader Sunday. They were all void refinement cultivators, so they planned to directly jump down from here. How about we do it together? All right. Sect leader's son nodded. Then, the few of them leaped. They had all used invisibility talismans, and thought that no one would see them jumping off the cliff. But they had no idea that the sect's defensive barrier had already been activated. Thus, as their bodies fell, the few of them realized that something was amiss, because at the bottom of the cliff, they actually discovered a group of reporters holding up all kinds of filming equipment. Chapter 8:10. As a spatial tempering stage powerful being, he would naturally be fine after jumping off a cliff. At most, he would land in a slightly unsightly position. After all, humans were not cats. There was no Schrödinger's cat theory, and he would always land feet first. Therefore, at this time, the invisibility talisman on them played a big role. As long as no one saw them, even if they fell badly, it wouldn't be too embarrassing. But the problem was, this group of reporters that had suddenly gathered below had caused sect leader's son and the others' faces to turn pale with fright. At their level, the thing they feared the most was reporters. Moreover, a small number of reporters often wrote articles that were taken out of context in order to attract attention. Now that they had jumped off the cliff of someone else's new sect, what kind of report would this group of reporters write? Shock. The leaders of the 5 sects agreed to bungee jump at the top of the mountain during the establishment ceremony of their new sects. The sect leader of Radish King's sect led the sect leaders of the 4 major sects to celebrate the Office of Strategic Deception's opening by performing a leap of faith on all 4s. The moment he saw the reporter, sect leader's son's mind was already filled with many news headlines. The noise of them jumping off the cliff quickly attracted the attention of the group of reporters who were about to go to the North Square. Everyone, look! Someone jumped off the cliff. Lighting engineer. Cameraman. What about the equipment? This was news. Grab the headlines. Who is jumping off the cliff? The one at the very front seems to be the head of the Radish King's sect, Sun Hanja. In just an instant, the flashes below started flashing crazily. Sun. Sect leader Sun. What's going on? The few sect leaders behind sect leader's son were dumbfounded. They had obviously used the invisibility talisman. But for some reason, it actually failed at this time. What's more, it failed in front of a group of reporters, and the most important thing was that this group of damn reporters ran very fast. All of them raised their camera equipment up high and activated their body movements as they sprinted over. There were even 2 cameramen among them who knew Zero-Wave's subtle steps. At this moment, sect leader's son finally realized that they might have been tricked. But if the Office of Strategic Deception had deliberately arranged this, they couldn't find any evidence. Because this group of reporters originally wanted to go to the North Square, they just happened to choose this path. Previously, Professor Yang had also specifically said that because of the different levels of guests, the paths they took were also different. They took the VIP green passageway, while this group of reporters might take the special passageway for reporters and the media. So, in the end, it could be said to be a coincidence. They could only admit defeat. Sect Master Sun gritted his teeth and circulated his spirit energy with all his might, intending to control the flow of air to fly. But unfortunately, he found that the spiritual power was actually flowing on his fingertips bit by bit, unable to condense at all. The others were also facing the same situation. The sex barrier. Sect Head Sun immediately thought that this might be the effect of the sex barrier. The invisibility talisman's failure was most likely due to the sex barrier. However, it was clear that sect leader Sun had never imagined that this sect barrier would be so powerful. Even void-tempering stage powerhouses like them would be suppressed to the point where they couldn't use their spirit energy. Thus, sect leader Sun, who was constantly falling, could only let out a long sigh. Everyone, don't panic. I'll handle the reporters. Then what should we do now? A few of the sect leaders wanted to cry. Now, everyone can think about how to make your landing posture look better. At the same time, in the tea house, sect leader Lu, who was fidgeting uneasily, had clearly sensed that something was wrong. Sect leader Sun's speed of return was a little too slow. Even if the defensive barrier was activated and they couldn't circulate their spirit energy normally, they were void-tempering stage powerhouses. Even if they ran, their speed shouldn't be too slow. Logically speaking, they should have returned long ago. But now, there was no movement at all. Sect leader Lu, you don't look very good? Professor Yang asked deliberately with a smile. I was just wondering why old Sun and the others haven't returned yet. Sect leader Lu smiled awkwardly, then casually lied. They told me earlier that they went to pee. Pee in groups? But holding hands to go to the toilet, isn't that a habit of little girls? Yes. This is their hobby. I told you, this group of people has always been gay. But there is a toilet in the tea house. They like to be close to nature. At that moment, Professor Yang looked at his phone as if he had received a message. Sect leader Lu, sect leader Sun and the others might be a little late. I just received news that a group of reporters are interviewing them. Reporters, that's right, for the sect's founding ceremony this time. Sect leader has specially invited all the major media outlets. People's Cultivation Evening News, People's Morning News, and Huaxiao Cultivation Daily are all here. Hearing this, sect leader Lu broke out in a cold sweat. If they were caught by this group of reporters, how bad would the situation be? Professor Yang, could you give us some face and have these reporter friends leave first? Our alliance will thank them generously in the future. Sect leader Lu had already realized the seriousness of this matter, because sect leader Sun and the others represented the alliance, and what the alliance valued the most was naturally prestige. The reason the alliance had been able to stand tall all these years was because of this reputation and the harmonious atmosphere it had created. If it was disrupted today, the sects of the alliance would be at odds with each other. In the future, it would be hard to say. What frightened sect leader Lu even more was the degree of coincidence in this matter. If the Office of Strategic Deception had deliberately planned this from beginning to end, the other party's strategic awareness was too profound. It was just a seemingly casual move, but it had thrown them into disarray and hit their vitals. Professor Yang pinched his mustache and chuckled. This is our sect's matter. Since sect leader Lu and the alliance are important VIPs of our sect, we will naturally take care of this matter. But I also hope that sect leader Lu will remember what you said. Of course. Sect leader Lu bowed. While the two of them were talking, a huge black shadow came down from the sky, covering the entire northern square and the tea house. Alarmed, the sect leaders of the major sects in the tea house came out to watch, and saw a giant immortal warship with the seal of the Office of Strategic Deception anchored in the sky. Chapter 8:11. Hundreds of soul formation cultivators. What kind of lineup was this? All the sect leaders were stupefied. It was already quite extravagant to invite several soul formation cultivators to be the commander of the Guard of Honor for a regular sect founding ceremony. Not only were they expensive to hire, the most important thing was that they were extremely difficult to hire. But the Office of Strategic Deception had actually gathered such a large group of soul formation cultivators as the Guard of Honor. For a moment, the group of sect leaders below the stage felt their livers ache. Sure enough, this was the gap between pay-to-win players and ordinary players. Elsewhere, in the machine room under the stage in the Office of Strategic Deception's northern square. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, the chief of the Office of Strategic Deception, was secretly observing everything through a screen. There was a machine room under the stage in every square, and when Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's Soul Devourer appeared, he would directly appear in the center of the stage through a lift in the middle of the machine room. At that moment, the Office of Strategic Deception's founding ceremony had already begun. When hundreds of soul formation cultivators waved red ribbons as they slowly descended from the immortal warship, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's heart surged with emotion. Little Silver and Loopy Toad were both next to him at that moment. Dog 2, so many soul formation cultivators, it must have cost a lot of money, woof? Little Silver, also, it's amazing to be able to gather so many soul formation cultivators who have nothing better to do but wave ribbons. But Faye spread out his paws and said, maybe Grandpa Yuan fed them too much. Woof. Little Silver nodded, crouched down, and gave Dog 2 a high five. Although one Silver and one Dog were usually enemies, they surprisingly shared the same opinion on this matter. Brother Dog, why are you suddenly adding suffixes to your words now? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal broke out in a sweat. Dog 2, ever since I learned the basic dog skills, I can't help wanting to pee whenever I see a pole, woof. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal and Little Silver, I told Shen Wuyue, the demon race's holy envoy, about this, and he later thought of a way to deal with it. He said that if you want to get rid of this side effect, you can't restrain yourself. You have to be more like a dog. Because I'm not a dog to begin with, my soul might have subconsciously resisted this technique, woof. So you came up with this idea? That's right, woof. Returning to the topic at hand, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal looked at the screen in front of him and said, actually, I didn't spend much money on this bunch of soul formation cultivators. Our sect has just been established, how can we spend money recklessly? Generally, during a sect's founding ceremony, they will invite 2 or 3 soul formation stage cultivators to be the guards of honor. We have a few hundred people here, so our money is about the same as those 2 or 3 soul formation stage cultivators. Little Silver and Loopy Toad were startled. How can it be so cheap? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal rubbed his head and grinned. Brother Ling drew me a large stack of soul formation talismans earlier. These talismans can raise a person's aura to the soul formation realm for a short period of time, but in fact they don't have much of an effect on strength. The ones in the sky right now are all at the foundation establishment stage. Little Silver and Dog 2. Is this even possible? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, Brother Ling told me before that he was going to draw a Void Refinement talisman, but when I looked at the guest list, I realized that a lot of them were at the Void Refinement stage. It wouldn't be very polite to set up a Void Refinement honor guard, even if it was fake. How embarrassing and shameful it would be. Loopy Toad broke out in a sweat. The group of sect leaders outside would probably already be too ashamed to show their faces when they saw this kind of lineup. At that moment, the indicator light in the mechanism room lit up, and a familiar voice rang out from the speaker on the side. Senior Immortal, everything is ready. The host has arrived backstage. This was Zilianjinren's voice. Today, Zilianjinren would be in charge of the entire venue. Okay, then let's go with the plan and have the host come on stage. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal nodded. Zilianjinren, got it. A few seconds later, a middle-aged host with a very familiar face walked out from backstage with a wide smile on his face. He had very long sideburns and was dressed like a middle-aged elite. His back was ramrod straight as he strolled unhurriedly onto the stage. At that moment, dozens of buses were arriving from different directions in the northern square, and more people were gathering. Sect leaders, deputy sect leaders, relevant personnel, regional leaders, reporters and media from all over the country were already in place, regardless of whether they were at the black level, yellow level or earth level. But these weren't the main event. When he went on stage, the middle-aged host looked at the immortal warship in the sky. As the host, he already knew the entire process of the founding ceremony, and naturally knew what kind of big shots were on the immortal warship. Pa! A spotlight shone down from above the immortal warship on the middle-aged host, and a thick and solemn voice suddenly rang out. The whole venue instantly fell silent, and only the host's voice could be heard. Distinguished guests, leaders, bosses, sect leaders, deputy sect leaders, personnel in charge, and friends in the media circle, good morning. The founding ceremony of the General Office of Strategic Deception, or Office of Strategic Deception, is about to begin. Under the spotlight, many people couldn't help being startled when they saw the middle-aged host's face clearly. Because this host's identity wasn't simple, furthermore, this was the royal host of Huaxiao Nation's national ceremony every year, Wang Han. My God, Teacher Wang is also here. It's actually Teacher Wang Han. Is this for real? It's really Teacher Wang Han. Look at his sideburns and black-rimmed glasses, these are all his real body. What the hell? It's true. How did the Office of Strategic Deception invite him? The moment Wang Han appeared in front of everyone in the spotlight, even the media reporters were stupefied. For a moment, the square was silent, and they were so shocked that they even forgot to press their shutters. This was a host with a rather legendary experience. Not only did he have excellent professional hosting skills, he was also quite strong himself, and was a genuine void refinement expert. A lot of people vaguely remembered Wang Han's rise to fame back then. Back then, Wang Han had once accepted the advertisement for Lao Ten pickled cabbage beef noodles. In the end, when they were reshooting a new scene for the advertisement, the crew was attacked by gangsters. It was at that moment that Teacher Wang Han stepped forward bravely and used the pickled cabbage in the Lao Ten pickled cabbage beef noodles he was eating to strangle the gangsters on the spot, becoming famous in one battle. After that, there was a classic advertising slogan that was widely spread. Chapter 8:12. For a moment, the air froze at Wang Han's appearance. No one thought that this royal host, who often presided over national ceremonies, would actually show up at a sect's founding ceremony. At the same time, Lu Yuming felt even more terrified. He felt that there was a tremendous power behind this Office of Strategic Deception. It was so tremendous that just thinking about it made him feel as if he had been electrocuted. It could only be said that Teacher Wang Han was indeed Teacher Wang Han. In front of so many sect bigwigs and the media, he had shown his unshakable and professional hosting ability. He didn't even have a script, but he already knew the entire process of the founding ceremony by heart. Wang Han raised the microphone, his posture ramrod straight as he said in a booming voice, "Little Raccoon Crispy Noodle Snacks is specially sponsoring this sect founding ceremony." At that moment, a holographic 3D QR code appeared in the air. It turned out to be a mosaic of a little raccoon. All guests present can scan the QR code and draw a prize for the Office of Strategic Deception's founding ceremony. Wang Han continued, "The Office of Strategic Deception has prepared generous prizes for this founding ceremony. 10 ninth grade holy artifacts, 10 6th grade holy artifacts, and 3 3rd grade holy artifacts. In addition to these prizes, there's also a special mystery prize. The special prize is an exquisite luxury item that none of you can imagine." As soon as he finished speaking, whispers immediately rang out from the audience. Holy artifacts, can they be given away so casually? The Office of Strategic Deception is still rich. 3 3rd grade holy artifacts. Ordinary sects would choose to leave them for their own disciples. Hey, is no one curious about what the final mystery prize is? A lot of people took out their phones and started to scan the QR code. They then realized that this QR code was in fact the Office of Strategic Deception's official account. After adding the follower, an automatic reply message popped up. System, from the General Office of Strategic Deception. Thank you for following the official account of the General Office of Strategic Deception. At the same time, we sincerely invite all guests to participate in the sect founding lottery. As long as you give the Office of Strategic Deception an official announcement in your WeChat moments, take a screenshot and upload it to the public platform, you can participate in the lottery. Note, if you don't know the official announcement format, please search for it online. Official announcement format? What's that? A lot of people were dumbfounded when they saw it. Sect leader Lu, do you know what the official announcement format is? A sect leader of the Alliance asked Lu Yuming. I have a rough idea. Lu Yuming operated his phone and quickly displayed his screenshot. Lu Yuming took a photo of the huge crowd in the North Square and sent it to his WeChat moments. Lu Yuming, congratulations on the establishment of the Office of Strategic Deception. Official announcement. Many people came over to take a look and were suddenly enlightened. So this is the official style? As expected of sect leader Lu. Thus, many of the sect bigwigs present began to edit their messages. Su Buke, the leader of the Chopping Heavens gang, extra. The Office of Strategic Deception was established today. The only sect that was built was a Heaven rank level 3 sect. Official announcement. Cute leader Big Radish, head of the Avengers, congratulations on the founding of the Office of Strategic Deception. Official announcement. Sect leader of Electric Eels sect Wu Xiuyin, when the Office of Strategic Deception was founded, the Northern Square was packed with people. I saw a lot of big shots, it was so hot. Official announcement. Sect leader of Physical Cultivation sect Fan 800 million. I've long heard that the newly established chief of the Office of Strategic Deception, grenade-throwing senior immortal, is very popular. Today, the Office of Strategic Deception is founded, and many sect leaders have gathered. Congratulations. I hope that my Physical Cultivation sect and the Office of Strategic Deception will have a chance to work together in the film and television business. I'll be the first to pay taxes. Official announcement. President of True Fragrance Society Wang Jingze. To be honest, when I first received the invitation, Wang Jingze, refused it. Even if I starved to death or jumped off from here, I wouldn't participate in the Office of Strategic Deception's founding ceremony. Nor would I participate in the lucky draw. How sweet. Official announcement. This wave of reposts in support of the lucky draw had a huge impact. In just a few short minutes, it blew up the internet and instantly became a trending topic. The establishment of the General Office of Strategic Deception was a trending topic, and it directly hit the headlines with the word explode. A lot of people even found that the search interface was stuck when they entered the software. The official announcement sent by so many sect heads and well-known media reporters from all over the country caused a huge uproar in WeChat moments, Weibo, Tieba, and even many other platforms. The keyword, Great Death Courting Senior, was also on the list under the trending topic, Establishment of the General Office of Strategic Deception. In the machine room, grenade-throwing senior immortal observed the activity online. In the blink of an eye, the Office of Strategic Deception had become today's topic of conversation. Before the media who had come to the Northern Square had even had time to interview or report on the matter, the founding of the sect had already dominated the headlines on the front pages of all the major news media. As expected, Sister Tsilian is amazing, grenade-throwing senior immortal said. Little Silver was very curious. What's this special grand prize? Food, grenade-throwing senior immortal replied. Loopy Toad reacted almost instantly. Don't tell me it's Little Master Ling's crispy noodle snacks, woof. Haha, Brother Dog's reaction is fast. But I did suggest to Brother Ling that we use an enchanted crispy noodle snack packet to cook a delicacy as the special grand prize, but Brother Ling didn't agree. So in the end, the special grand prize was changed. Although it's not a crispy noodle snack, it's still an exquisite luxury item. Furthermore, it's a delicacy. It's just that this delicacy is too expensive to make, it's even comparable to a first-class holy weapon. After eating it, you can directly increase your lifespan by 200 years. 200 years. Little Silver's mouth dropped open in surprise. What on earth is this? Charcoal grilled purple cloud wings and stewed heavenly Dow broccoli, grenade-throwing senior immortal said. Little Silver and Loopy Toad. At that moment, the voice of host Wang Han rang out in the northern square again. Before the sect founding ceremony officially begins, the Office of Strategic Deception has prepared a side performance. All sect leaders present can volunteer to come forward and challenge the leader of our sect's recreation hall. If you win, you'll directly receive a first-class holy weapon. In the machine room, Little Silver and Loopy Toad were shocked when they heard this. Master is here? Little Master is here? One Silver and one Dog said almost in unison. Brother Ling has to prepare for the final exam, so naturally he won't be able to come to the founding ceremony. But this is, after all, a major event for the sect, so Brother Ling is giving face by sending half a clone. Half a clone? That's a clone with half the spirit power of a normal, complete clone. Brother Ling said that all the sect leaders present are pretty weak. If he uses a complete clone, he's afraid he'll directly kill them. After all, this is a founding ceremony. It's not good to see blood. Our good start should be a little more harmonious. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.